Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and it's Monday, and that means I'm joined by Mr. Nathan Prescott in the Honest Wargamer studio. Nathan Prescott, how are you?
Hello, I'm okay, and you?
No, much louder spoken than you are softly spoken. I'm going to do this. I'm going to I'm great, if I'm honest with you.
That's good. You cheerful.
Yeah, I do feel really cheerful today. I feel really good about life and the world. So I want to share that with you and everyone. So I hope everyone is really well, everyone around the world. If you're listening to us on Twitch, like the Warhammer Nerd, we apologise for being late. Arkian and Scrivo, two of our Twitch moderators already in the house. I just want to say a big shout out to you guys, and I hope you're good. So you guys are good. I hope everyone is listening to the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, I hope you're having a great day. Don't forget to hydrate, get yourself a protein bar, but generally just just live the life you want to live and be happy. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we can take questions on Twitch if you want to come and join us. And of course, thank you to everyone who subscribes on Patreon and Twitch. You help create the show, pay for the website, do loads of really cool stuff. So you guys are wonderful. Thanks very much. So evening to OJ, evening Scrivo. You go enjoy Game of Thrones, brother. Hi Tomb King Tristan. And Game of Thrones was amazing. Now, I'm not saying that there will be a Game of Thrones spoiler part, but maybe me and Nathan might talk about the tactics used in the most recent episode, because I feel like any Warhammer general could have used better tactics. But we'll do that later under the This is the spoiler section. Yes or no? Yeah, sure. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just Tomb King Tristan, I listen to podcasts at the gym. That will be very helpful. My pleasure. No spoilers. Stop. Okay. No, don't worry. We're not going to say anything. I promise. Don't worry. Hi, Greckle. I imagine there won't be as many people watching tonight because they will be watching Game of Thrones. If you're not, then what are you doing with your life? That's all I've got. Okay. On to Warhammer stuff. But before we get on to Warhammer, I'd like to ask Nathan, how are you?
Yeah. Cool. Can't complain, I guess.
So, well, you could complain, couldn't you?
Could, but nobody would give a fuck. So
I would. Maybe. I would care a lot. I do. I care. So that would be cool. Everything okay in the world of Nath?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Good. Because I know people will care. I was at the WS10 gaming event this Saturday at Boards in Brum, so I'm going to talk more about that later. But basically, everyone came up to me and was like, "Yeah, Rob, nice to see you, by the way." I was like, "Thanks very much. Where's Nathan?" And I was like, "Okay, he's not here." They were like, and the look of disappointment on everyone's face when they see me and then they don't get to see you. They're like, "Oh,
I've been having van problems, so no transport really at the moment.
So you're currently not a man with the van?
Not a man with a van. Hopefully tomorrow.
You'll be a man with a van? Yeah. But currently you're vanless?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Wow.
It's being fixed.
Whereas I'm manless.
Are you? Where's your man gone?
I don't know. He was trapped in the van.
Normally have a few on the go.
That's a small joke. Making out that I'm gay, which sadly I'm not. That would just be much easier. I think I'd prefer that, to be honest. And if ever there's some very effeminate men out there who listen to the show, maybe get in touch. Maybe I could be swayed. Because it just seems to be better. But more on that later. Greckle says, hydrate. It was snowing at my house earlier. Where's Greckle based? Don't worry, we won't be doing spoilers. Hey, the first brain squig, because that's Nick. 2 plus tough. 2 says, spoil it all. Some men just want to watch the world burn. That would be me. I'm not sure, by the way. We've got some stuff to talk about.
So, shall I spoil in-game then?
I already saw it today now, dickhead.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah. Fuck you. Fuck you. Yeah. Right. So I'm sorted, and I can't believe that Howard the Duck was in it. Best thing about this stream is that I can see what is going on, unlike Game of Thrones. It was so dark,
especially when all the lights went out. Yeah. Right at the beginning.
Hi Lanes, Lee Bromley. Otherwise, I'm turning off, and we'll catch you on YouTube. Don't worry. There'll be no spoilers. Tomb King Tristan says, I'm only here for the Loon Curse. Hello, Heinrad. Hi, Full Greener. Where is Jet? Jet's at home, isn't he?
Yeah, I've had to catch the bus in today, so no Jet today.
No Jet. Well, I'm sorry. I suspect Nathan drives a camper van as he picks up all the ladies. Nice. Yeah, he does. That's actually 100% true. He just keeps. He does
You don't need a camper van for that.
Wow. Just Nathan with a man's courage. Just a man with a man's courage. My condolences from a fellow trader, says Raker.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because
Thanks,
everyone knows that if you haven't got your van, it's a big deal.
Fucked.
You're fucked. Just finished a Gitz versus Daughters game, says Mark Time. Better part of Valor, and we were definitely fighting the scenario rather than each other, and it just wasn't that great of an experience. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Time. It is a shit scenario, realistically. It's not great. Warhammer Nerd says he's in his shorts at home alone. Hi bro. Maybe you should text the mask back. She's heartbroken. Yeah, I know. So the mask of Slaanesh got her war scroll changed, and she's much worse now, which is lame. WS Tempe, hello, how are you? And Greco, I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so that's why it's snowing where he is.
Okay.
Devious camper van to store them. Do you murder women, Nathan, and store them in a camper van? That's one of the questions we've had on the Twitch chat.
I do not store anybody in a camper van.
Okay.
I don't have a camper van.
I'd just like to say also, before we get on with the show, where we'll be covering events and doing some other bits, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's left us a review on iTunes. It was really nice. We've got loads of 5 stars, so it's just very nice of everyone. So I just want to say a big thank you.
Oh, nobody's gone on there and said it's absolute dross.
No absolute dross.
Not like the other podcast.
Not like that other podcast that we did. Craigu, evening. It's nice to catch this live for once. Thanks. So there's loads to talk about. Yeah, in the news and reviews section of Age of Sigmar. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. But the first thing to probably talk about is it's 2 weeks until the Bravery 1 British Open.
Oh, that's only 2 weeks.
Fuck. Yeah, there you go. Are you excited? And for everyone at home who doesn't know, BOBO is the an acronym that's used. Bravery 1 British Open, it's in its 3rd year, and it's looking like it's going to be the largest single Age of Sigmar's event in the entire world ever, which is very important because most people think that one of the organisers is a bit of a knob.
Most people know that. And he is, but he's cool.
But I like Johnny, and I've always liked him.
Everybody likes a nice knob. So,
I'm hoping to one day like a nice knob. It might be 3 weeks. Thank you, Just Nikos. Is it 3 weeks or 2 weeks? It's the 14th and 15th of May.
yeah, say 3 weeks.
So 3 weeks. Thank Christ.
A few more days, Christ.
I did not watch the Heed Knights book reviews. I don't watch any book reviews unless they're done by someone who isn't given advanced copies of the book, because I imagine that I don't. Nathan, before we get into today's show, I'm going to talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure how to approach today, because I'm feeling a bit. So obviously we do the show, and there's like a bit of like, how do you talk about certain subjects? How do you talk about certain things? Yeah. And I know your response is, and as one of the reviews on the podcast says, just fuck those guys. Like, Nathan's philosophy is the best philosophy, and I kind of agree with that. But then sometimes I feel like I don't want to be too confrontational. I feel like it's not like, I love Joe Pagano, yeah, love him to pieces, but he's got a way about him that's probably better than my way. I don't know. Does that make sense? So some of the stuff I kind of want to I'm not sure if we're going to get a very measured response from me today or 2 barrels. So get ready as we wade forward. And got any advice for me before we get into it? Got any thoughts? Because you're my wise man. You're the wise man I know.
Then you're fucked.
Yeah, I just don't watch reviews by people who get stuff early because I can't trust they're not going to be lying fucks. That's the quintessential part. So I wait until I get the book myself and I read it, or I'll go on listen to the people at Warhammer Weekly. Those are the only 2 things I would ever fucking do. So I don't listen to previews now because they're probably liars. They're probably not all liars.
No, most of them just read out the book. So.
The one guy that just reads out the book. How is that not something that they've just closed down? He just turns it on and he goes, "This is the book." And he turns the page and then he just reads it out. And then he turns the page and he just reads it. He doesn't give any insight at all. He's just like, "You can add +1 attack." How is that a review?
I don't know. That's useful knowledge. I
No,
guess.
it's great that I just get all the free shit. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Spider Penny, hi Rob. I actually get to see this live and off the back of a great Realm Wars as well. Oh, lovely. Sinise, it's Rob's head slanting left, or am I? Is this not?
It's got a little bubble on it.
What?
There on the camera, there's a bubble.
Is it flat? You're the builder.
Oh, my one's not
As
flat.
someone who gets advanced copies as 2+ stuff for the lore, I'd like to hear an opinion on folks who discuss it on a more tactical level. Oh well, you can't be a liar about the lore, can you?
No, because Judge Dredd will come and get you.
Oh right, okay.
Which law?
Wild speculations are always better than page-by-page review anyway, says Obit. Lore Rob can't use a bubble level. Oh, fuck, okay. Lore is greater than rules, says Chapter Master Valrak. That could be true too. Anyway, so some of the stuff that got announced this week, Nathan, was the Twigs and Squigs release.
Yeah.
Are you excited about this?
Hoods and Woods.
Hoods and Woods! It's a great one. Who said the Hoods and Woods?
Timmy Fisher.
Oh, Timmy Fisher.
Yeah,
I think I stole mine from I can't remember. He's got a really odd Twitter handle, but yeah, Twigs and Squigs is good, but Hoods and Woods might be better. But either way, the Loon Curse box for Sylvaneth and Moonclang, from Gloomspite Gitz has been released, and it's got a new Sylvaneth model and a new a giant loon boss on a giant cave squig. On a cave squig, because there's a loon boss. This currently is one, right?
There's the metal one or resin, depending on where you get it from, and then there's also the forge wood one.
All right, solid. So it looks like some cool story in there. They're battling the realm of metal, which is pretty sweet.
There's a lot happening in the realm of metal, really. That's where Scragrot is based, and if you read the lore in the Gitz book, then they do mention there's a big fight between them and the Sylvaneth in part of his area of influence.
Okay. All right, nice. Oh, Swan Mighty, thanks for subscribing. Hi, K-Dread. Oh, I've met K-Dread. Have you met K-Dread before? I met him this weekend.
I probably have. I don't.
He's a nice fella. Hi, Nathan and Rob, says K-Dread. Swan Mighty's also subscribed for 10 months in a row. I want to say thank you for that.
I can't relate Twitter handles to...
No, you mean Twitch
people,
names.
Twitch names or whatever they are to people. So.
And also Toon King Tristan says he loves those 2+ lore videos. They're tight. I've also listened to 2+ stuff, and I think he's a pretty sweet fella. So if you want an opportunity to go listen to a dude, I quite like his stuff. And it's lore stuff, as we've said. So you won't get any lies there. Rhett Stanley, thanks for subscribing 4 months in a row. What does everyone think of the new Keeper War Scrolls? Says Porch. Again, we're going to wait till the FAQs. It's like we're still waiting to talk about... I'd like to talk about Fire Slayers. I personally think Berserker is the best combat unit in the game.
Yeah.
But we don't get to talk about it in a minute, do we? Because we don't know about the FAQ. We don't know if they're going to get all their rules changed or none of their rules changed. So we have to wait until we can talk about that. So the Loon Curse box, new Arch Revenant. Do you like the model or do you hate the model? Twitch chat and Nathan Prescott, what do you think?
I wasn't sure of the model at first because I wondered how the wings were fitting.
It's a bug.
Yeah, but then if you look at the new pictures, there's pictures of a moth sort of thing sitting on his back, so it looks pretty cool actually. I like that.
I think it looks very cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm super into it personally.
Not as good as the squig though.
I don't like how it's painted. I've never liked how the Revenants have been painted. That kind of like ethereal-ish, like horribleness. I can't say that I'm a fan, but I do like the model. I think I like its kind of like oakeny armor, and it's nice seeing the more kind of like, it's almost like Iron Man-esque kind of like greaves and everything on it. I think it looks quite swish. So I'm well into that, and I do like the concept that they're going to have more kind of like revenants, and I would assume, and I think it's almost like cast iron fact that we know that Wanderers are going to get rolled into the Sylvaneth Battletome, which I assume. So Loon Curse goes on pre-order this weekend. I would assume that Sylvaneth Battletome will go on pre-order the weekend after.
Okay,
that's my assumption.
No, yeah. Well, I was looking at the Ilthari War Scroll today.
Yeah.
Ilthari's Guardians, and if they get the weapon loadouts that they've got, then the Revenants are going to be really sweet.
Really sweet, yeah.
That 24-inch bow is pretty great, and then the sword thing. I'm not such a fan of the glaive thing, but the sword is great.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, so if you're not sure what Nathan's talking about there, if you go and look at the Shadespire, Shadespire Warband, they've got War Scrolls. You can just go see it on the free app. Best thing about Age of Sigmar, apart from maybe War Scroll Builder, the combo of the two, and you can read their War Scroll. And yeah, they look pretty sweet. So if you get units of 10 of the bows, or units of 10, or 5 or 10, probably be 5s, but might be 10s. That would be sweet.
Those different weapon layouts, definitely. That'd be good.
Love the model, says Lee Bromley. Stupid helmet face, though. Tomb King Tristan says her name is Princess Bugbottom. Talking about
Ilthari.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keijo says the tree thing looks cool, but the painting sucks. Andy Bryce says he loves the model. I also got to talk to him this weekend. That was cool. The helmet scream old school wood elves, which I agree with as well. Warhammer Nerd, what makes you think Wanderers are getting rolled in? Surely not. Well, I just think that they're going to, because the helmet's very Wander-esque.
Yeah, but at the present moment in the fluff and the story time, there's quite a division between the Wanderers and the Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
So it'll be quite a turnaround if they roll them together.
So you don't think that they're going to?
No. I'd be surprised. Well, there would be a big story change if they do, because there's quite a division between them at the moment.
Okay. All right. Fine. There we go. I would say that just because for ease, but if they don't, then they don't, and that's cool too. But they might do they might not do Sylvaneth. They might do like wood peoples or something. I don't know.
Forest folk.
That would be cool. Nate, Chukabutty, thanks very much. I've just turned you up, Nate. You're a softly spoken man.
Yes, I am.
And I'm not. Devious 2K, thank you for subscribing for the first time.
Oh,
He's
sweet.
joined our gang. So anyone, if you're not sure, if you've never subscribed to us Wargame before, and if you're new or you're listening and you'd like to subscribe, when you subscribe, you become one of the knee stabbers. So we like stabbing knees because we're all grots really at heart. And also it means that you gain a huge amount of BDE. So that would be big dick energy. And again, no spoilers, but the biggest dick energy of all time is obviously Lady Mormont of House Mormont. She is the greatest of all the big dick energy people in the world. Yeah. Have you got anyone else who you'd like to volunteer? Who's got the biggest dick energy in Age of Sigmar? Question to Nathan and the chat to derail us a bit.
I was gonna jump straight in with Godrak, probably.
Godrak. No, he's not got big dick energy. He's such a college kid in America, a university student here who's had like 4 too many beers, and he's just out on a Saturday night. Disagree. Yeah.
Or what about? Why? Who are you thinking?
What for big dick energy? I've never thought about it. Who's pretty cool? I quite like Reikenor, but he's a ghost. So I don't think him. I quite like the curse the Nighthorn guy who steals your command point. Valton. Is it Valton? No, it's not Valton. It's Voltronus. He's got some pretty serious big dick energy. He just turns up on a little chair and is like, I'm going to nick you. I'm going to nick it. But actually, Skink Priest. Yeah, who sits there re-rolling stuff, and he's like, I'm going to stand in the middle of the battle. I'm a tiny little skink. Yeah, but I don't give a shit about you or anything. He's pretty cool. He's got some big dick energy. Yeah. Who have you got?
Craggy.
No one knows who Craggy is. In the chat, WS10 says Marathi. That's true. Scragrot's got some serious big dick energy.
Yeah, it just goes around planting mushrooms inside people's heads.
Yeah, and also nicks profits and turns and then keeps them in a profit forest. Yeah, all right, yeah,
and nicks everybody's artifacts.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
My one's nicked a couple of suspicious stones and some beastmen artifacts. Yeah, he's doing all right. He is.
All right. Croak says Spider Penny. O-Reaper says, I think Sigmar he's at least the biggest dickhead anyway. Slaanesh says the keeper, and you know it. Raker says Cetra. Number 1 Darkling Covert player, Steve Dooley. Steve Dooley's one of my favourite people ever, because Steve Dooley, I'll talk about it later. We have courgette cannelloni for starter, duck breast tender, steamed broccoli, and the Herjek dessert is lemon posset with blueberry compote. What? Just read out what he's had for dinner.
That's what he's cooking for the Emerald.
Pop it on, anyone? Pop it on. Citra literally told all 4 Chaos Gods to fuck off and daring to ask him to serve, though he now almost definitely works for Sigmar, beating up Nagash's boys all day. At least he doesn't work for the Chaos Gods.
No.
So, Gargant says pressing pickle 69.
Yeah,
Gargant's got some pretty good.
The old guzzler. He certainly got pants full.
Matt Pastry says Drazaroth the Ashen. No, he's the worst model ever. Nagash surely. Craggy no, Nagash hasn't got any. Reflex Dog Trainer says the Warp Seer.
What about in your army? What's got the biggest
In the Chaos Dwarfs?
No, like in the armies that you've taken, have you got a specific model that's like, oh, this guy has got some good stories? He's got
just always my flying dwarf hero.
the flying dwarf dude.
Yeah, he charged it. He fought Louis Loncoeur this weekend. Yeah. Spoilers for later. Yeah, like an absolute gangster. He's got 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s. Rend 1 does D3 damage. And that guy's punked so many things. He's basically a legend at this stage. And by a legend, he's not great at all.
So yeah, my Gargants had some pretty epic stories.
Yeah?
So yeah, or else actually my Unforged, he's great.
You're Unforged. Yeah, I don't like that guy. Yeah, he's the worst.
He's had a great time in the Mortal Realms, actually, yeah. I'm going to go with the Unforged.
Also, Helter El Capitan WS10.
Talking of which?
The Unforged. Did your Unforged kill his Nagash one time? He's got such a nice face. When he talks, you're one of the nicest people. Carmack, hello. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I came here to let Rob know that I'm now a Gloomspite player, officially AOS curious. Oh, that's great. Well done, Carmack. I'm really happy about that. Oscar House Paints is here as well. We've got a celebrity in the house.
Oh, sweet.
Have you ever seen his painting before? He's painted one of the nicest looking Gargants I've ever seen.
Oh, yes. Yeah. His angels are.
Does not look like my shit Bumblebee. Alger says, have you seen Mantic Gargant? Nice model for cost. I have not seen it. Have you seen it? No. All right. It's taken us off anyway. So we were talking about the Loon Curse box.
Yeah.
Half Sylvaneth, half Gitz. I think it's a fantastic box. And especially a very, very, very cool box if I wanted to get someone into the hobby.
Yeah.
Like, that would be, whether or not it would be balanced, but, like, you're talking 2 very flavourful armies. I'm very happy there's a non-Stormcast matchup box. I know there was obviously Khorne and Slaanesh, but for me, I would say that this is probably one of the coolest boxes. Might be the coolest box that's been released.
Yeah. It depends on the rules, because I assume that they're all changing now for Sylvaneth.
For Sylvaneth, definitely, yeah. So we've already seen...
I think that could be fairly balanced. I mean, at the moment, the Squigs look stronger by a long shot.
How dare you? Let us get our armies out and we shall battle.
Okay.
Yeah? Colonel Thunder's a great mate. They'll kick your ass. Plus, we don't know what the bird lady does. So the bug tree revenant.
Yeah, whereas we know what the dude on this giant squig does. Just makes things go faster. So
yeah. That's not a cool ability. Just going faster.
Oh yes, it is. When you kick people in the head when you go really fast.
Also, I think Heinrad's in the chat, and I'd like to just get a small round of applause for Heinrad, who won a game of Warhammer last night. Now, if you're listening from anywhere in the world and you're not sure what that means, I do think that one of the things Honest Wargamers is trying very hard to do is build a kind of global community. So you got like Matt's in there in the chat. He's in America, as is. You got guys like Sedges in Chicago. I know there are people in Australia and Sweden and a bunch of other places listening to the show. But Heinrad's a fairly local player who is just absolutely rubbish at Warhammer with the Daughters of Cain. And when we get into it, and 2 Plus Tough is over in Seattle, where is everyone from? Please let me know. But I would just like to congratulate him because he's been trying to win with Daughters of Cain. As we've seen this weekend, you can win with Daughters of Cain fairly easily if you've practiced with them a lot or you move your models too far. Either of those 2 is an advantage in Warhammering. What did Margate is where Warhammer Nerd is. So I'm happy for Heinrad. And worldwide community. Well done, Heinrad.
Who did he beat? Gristlegore.
Yes, I don't know. Arlington, Virginia, Toronto, Canada says Triple Diamonds. Reflex Dog training painting says, I'm just going to call you Reflex in the future. Reflex painting. Just bought the Gloomspite book today and don't own a single model, which is fun. Carmack says People's Republic of Yorkshire, Maryland. Elko Reb, Puebla, Mexico. Is that Rodrigo? Is that you? If that's Papa Rodrigo, I'll be so happy. Oh fuck. Wolfreef Carl says Paraguay, South America. Wolfreef Carl, you're in Paraguay. Is that real? Doncaster. I was sorry by not being impressed by Doncaster. It says Craigorite. Is that Andy Hughes? Cambridge here. So that would be Cambridge is where the Canterbury Tales are from. Think. Reaper says from Ohio. Norway says Lanes. Massachusetts. This is awesome. Birmingham, Glasgow. Bill Souza says I'm from your dreams. Bill Souza's in the house. That's awesome. What a lovely man. If you've never met Bill Souza, the team captain for the Sigmar ETC team, he's genuinely one of the nicest men you could want to meet. Yeah, he's a fucking lovely, lovely man. I mean, me and Nathan have both got better beards, but that's not his fault. That's not his fault. Like, you can be nice but have a shitter beard. Come on, we got better beards.
Have we?
Come on. I'm saying it now. At the AOS ETC team.
I've not compared. Depends on your criteria, I guess.
Yeah, better. That's my criteria.
Oh, okay.
What's your criteria for beards?
I've got no criteria. I don't compare beards, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't realise I was missing out.
And then Sergeant Ross says, wait, practice makes you better at the game. Interesting. So
somebody's bought the Gloomspite Gitz book and hasn't got any models of any range at all.
No, they've got some Skaven Tide, maybe. He's a painter, a wonderful painter as well. So he's done a really great job doing some Nighthaunt before, so really solid. Cool. Right. Reflex Dog Training says there's 100 bits we've donated for... will the new box be a good start for Gitz? Nathan, as our Gitz expert, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it'll push you towards the squigs, but that's not a bad way to go, really, I think.
No, I don't think so either. However, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, it's not 4, it's not 5, it's not 6,
no, it's not 6.
It's not 7, it's not 8. I skipped forward a few. It's not 29, it's not 30, nor is it 31 Snotling Pump Wagons.
No, it's not.
Which is possibly the only way to go with the Gloomspite Gitz book in the future.
Except Snotling Pump Wagons aren't in the Gloomspite Gitz book.
Are they not? What are they in? Compendium?
Yeah. No, they're Gitmob.
Gitmob's in the Compendium now, though.
No, it's not.
Warboss Timmy, they're in the Compendium. That's a fact. Do you not think? Are they still in the game?
Yes.
No,
they're just a faction.
Mate.
Like Greenskins.
No, they're getting dropped. Like a hot rock, in my opinion. Right, okay, so Lucas box, exciting, great models.
Yeah.
And I'd say if you're looking to get your friends into Warhammer, personally, I think that would be the book that goes for me. That would be the box that I'd get. And then split it with my mate.
Because what have we got at the moment? Wrath and Rapture as well.
Wrath and Rapture, you've got the initial box, but you've got
you've got
weird...
Stormcast and Nighthaunt.
But both of those two boxes are super weird and it's incredibly unbalanced. Like the unit sizes aren't the right unit sizes.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very odd. I'd avoid that as a starter box. And if you've got any friends who want to get into it, that'd be the worst box to buy.
Yeah. Is Wrath and Rapture still for sale?
I think it's sold out.
Is it?
I think, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't
obviously
check.
the Fiends and the fucking harp person.
Harp lady.
That's great.
She is great. She's really, really good. All right. We also saw the Slaanesh book has gone on pre-order, so we've seen lots of the War Scrolls, which is cool. We've seen that they've got a lot to stop Always Strikes First. Although we saw an update. I think we talked about it last week where we saw that Always Strikes First now goes into ongoing combat as opposed to Always Strikes Last. So I'm very excited to see their FAQ in 2 weeks to see if that means that we end up having all the Always Strikes First, all of the Always Strikes Last stuff, so stuff that makes units fight at the end of the combat phase ends up making it only fight in order if you're doing it against something that already fights at the start of the combat phase. So you've got 3 places if you're new, and that's a bit complicated. You've got fighting at the start, fighting in the middle, or fighting at the end. And at the minute, if you fight in the middle, you can be made to fight at the end. And if you fight at the beginning, you can be made to fight at the end, unless you're Slaanesh. in which case you make them fight in the middle. So the activation wars are upon us. And do you think we'll see an FAQ that they all go around, or do you think just to make it really fun, it will just be different for everything? Which one, Nath?
That's anybody's guess.
But what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the same for everybody.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not. I wouldn't put any money on it.
Is that because you need it all for a van?
Yeah. If I ain't got any.
So yeah, Slaanesh on pre-order. That's exciting. We're going to do our Slaanesh show when the actual book gets FAQ'd, which is fun. And then we'll do it then. We won't do it before. And we won't give you random opinions that probably will end up being wrong in 2 weeks, and then publicly bemoan and cry about it. I'm in a mood. I don't know if you've noticed. Have you noticed? I'm in a mood. And I don't know where it's taking me. However, let's move on to tourney results, Nathan Prescott. Yeah, you excited about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so an amazing weekend of Warhammer.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
everywhere.
Warhammer everywhere, all across the world. So the 4 events that I know of that happened this weekend is Hero Phase 8 over in Ireland. You had Border War over in Australia. Yeah, it was 2019. Brisbane Vegas Open and the South Coast GT were 4 events that occurred this weekend. So the first one we're going to talk about, because possibly the greatest quote of all time is about to happen, is the Hero Phase 8 results.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I've got the list. So one of the things, a new thing that me and Nathan are going to do is we're going to have a quick chat about the list. Yeah, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
Nathan? We talked about this the other day. So let me just make sure I've got it up. There we go. So we're going to talk about the list and roughly talk about how we think it works. All right. So Andy won that. Well done with Gloomspite Gitz. We are in a chat with Andy, and we did. Someone asked Andy, "How did you do it?" And Nathan, what did he say?
Just bashed some people that were in the way.
No, that's not. He said it was so succinct. He said, "Played 5 lads, bashed 5 lads," and I was like, "That's the most Gitzy way of describing it ever." Yeah, it's perfect. Merchant Princess, I like how Loon Curse is built around the idea of an all-squig army. Can Nathan explain what is on his cap, please? Nathan, can you explain what's on your cap? People want to know.
It says Bubba Gump Shrimp
I
Company.
think they mean the metal thing.
Oh, that thing?
Yeah.
That's a bottle opener.
in case there's an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. Just reading the chat. It's mostly their terrible magic what they'll do them in, I think, says Stonehewer. Is the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company hat from Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Yes. And honestly, gets a top tier, but they require a bit of finesse, says Hypnocrack. And Nathan, do you agree or not agree?
I think they can compete up to the top tier. I think they're a bit more finesse, harder to play than some of the more obvious armies up there, and they're probably pointed pretty good. But then a lot of other armies have got stuff that's undercosted, so they're struggling points-wise against certain things, especially Skaven.
Skaven. Yes, and we'll touch on that. Don't forget to tune in, obviously, for the stat show if you just want a pure kind of like numbers game. So Andy Farrell played 5 lads, bashed 5 lads. Great quote, Andy. That you won my heart with that. He took Scragrot the Loon King. With Hand of Gork. He took a Loon Boss on Mangler Squig with Fight Another Day and the Clammy Cowl. 60 Stabbers, a Loon Boss, 18 Squig Herd. 18 Squig Herd's quite big. That's quite cool. 6 Squig Herd, 15 Boingrot Bounders, which is a 300-point unit, 10 Loon Smasher Fanatics, 6 Sneaky Snufflers, and he took the Mighty Mushroom, he took the Racist Swords, Quicksilver Swords, and the Soul Snare Shackles. We're coming up to 2,000 points. Nath, as our expert in it, what do you think?
So he's got a few scary, hard-hitting things there with the Mangler Squig, obviously. The unit of 15 Boingrot Bounders is probably more consistent damage output than the Mangler Squig as well.
Yes. Well, than the Loon King on it.
Yeah.
Loon Boss on the Mangler Squig, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the especially if you snuffle squig that 15 unit, because then they each model will then go up from having 4 attacks to having 6 attacks, and so 15 of them, and their lances are all 2-inch as well.
So you can. So if some people aren't really sure what that means, it means you'll be able to. If there's a screen and someone's been a bit silly with how close they place the thing behind the screen, you can reach over the top and stab a fella.
Yeah, or if you're having to concentrate your
or bash a
models
bro
around. Yeah.
Kick a kid.
All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stab a giant.
So you can still get quite a few of your attacks through. So yeah, that's a great unit, that 15 Boeing. It is expensive, but yeah, I think you can get some good bashing out of that.
Especially again, I mean, fairly they're fairly weak to getting shot. They're quite fragile, or hit back would be another thing that I would say. But
I mean, their obvious weakness is their low bravery. They actually got 4-up save, which is really good for.
And 2 wounds each.
Yeah,
that is actually quite good. Yeah, 30
but
wounds
they've just got no bravery at all. So,
are you telling me that squigs aren't brave or grots aren't brave?
Apparently not.
Wow.
Except for the fanatics. If you're pissed and you're grot, then you're the bravest thing in the mortal realms. And that unit of 10 Loon Smashers is scary as well. 10d6 attacks. I mean, it's very swingy, but nobody really wants to get too close to that or to the threat of that.
The 60 stabbers.
Yeah, because that's where you can't get at the Loon Smashers until you've engaged the 60 grots. And the 60 grots are actually pretty tasty as well in a fight.
Because they're made of mushroom?
Yeah.
Is that why they're pretty tasty? Is that what you mean?
Slightly truffly. No, they're pretty stabby in a fight.
Would you not get into a truffle with them?
Into a truffle war? No, not with those guys.
Good.
Yeah. So especially with the Loon boss, if he can, because he's got a Loon boss, hasn't he, as well, in that list?
Yeah. He's got a Loon boss. He's got a Loon boss on Mangler screen. He's got Scrag.
Yeah. So the Loon boss can give that 60 block the mortal wounds.
The mortal wound damage.
And then you could also put the snuffles onto them. So then they've all got +1 attack. So yeah.
It's one of the things that we've actually been talking about.
So it's got quite a few threats.
Yeah, quite a few threats, definitely. And I really like what you said about it's quite a challenge when you put it on the tabletop. You have to kind of like look at the 60, think, right, I need to go and get them. I've got to go clear them off an objective or whatever I've got to do. So to quote Darren, there'd be a point of engagement that you've got to enact. But then, obviously, Andy's rocking around with those, with the 10 Loon Smashers who can also engage. So, and what's nice is everything, so it's like I'll deal with the Boingrots 300 points, but then I'll deal with the Loon Smashers 300 points. I'll deal with the Stabbers 360 points. So they're all pretty. I'll deal with the Loon Boss and Mangle Squigs at 300 points. So they're all pretty much a much of a muchness, and they do different sorts of damage, but roughly the same-ish. So I kind of like that there isn't. I'm not really sure what to deal with first, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if he loses one, then he's got a bit of redundancy because he's got the other units. They can then countercharge whatever has done the damage, and they should be able to either clear whatever it is off or else really hurt it, so it's not functioning anymore.
All right, cool. Just see what the guys in the chat are saying. If I got 2 lots of Gitz from Loon Curse, 860 points, I think, what would you add to round it off to 1k? Mangler, no. Spells? You got to have some Shamans. A couple of the Shamans, right?
Yeah, the Shamans are pretty good. But yeah, Mangler's not bad shot, I guess.
I mean, that would make it more fun. The Shamans would make it a more competitive choice, I'd say.
Yeah.
For rocking stuff around. That would be my suggestion. And they're fairly cheap. You might be able to get, for 140 points, you can't quite get 2, but you can get roughly 2 in one and a spell.
Yeah, or even the Snufflers would be quite good in that, because then you could buff up the units of Boingot Bounders. So 140 points, you could get 2 units of Snufflers.
But they're incredibly difficult to paint, so don't do that. Thunderbolts and Lightning. Number 1 Darkling Governor says he's going to tune later. Okay, bruv. Love you loads. One of the funniest men in all of Warhammer. In second place was Mr. Ken J. Oh, so big congratulations to Andy. In second place was Mr. Ken Chambers. Congratulations to you. With Flashita Courts. And he had, he was Hollowmorn, which is cool. So none of the 2 kind of like the ones people are talking about. He was from the Realm of Fire, and he took an Abhorrent Arc Regent. He took an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist twice, and they both had the Mount Trait Gruesome Bite, which allows you to reroll hits on the jaw interestingly. And then the Law of Madness was Spectral Host, which I'm almost certain is the run spell. So you can run and charge. And then he took a Crypt Haunt Courtier, 10 Crypt Ghouls, the Cadaverous Barricade, the Attendants at Court, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 units of 3 Crypt Horrors. So a very cool army there, doing what it does. I also like the Abhorrent Art Region. It's got the trait Grave Robber, which is just a great name for a command trait, to be honest. I know a guy once that tried to bury his cat in a grave, but then the ground was too cold, so he slipped, and then his friends had to carry him out.
Yeah, he broke his ankle.
Broke his ankle, so then his friends were carrying, and then the police came, so his friends snuck him out of a grave at night, graveyard at night, carrying what looked like a body because he couldn't walk. This is a great story.
It was hilarious when you told me that story. I was crying.
Yeah, it's a good story. Thank you for that story. So Ken, great shout. The Crypt Horrors also is a cool choice as well. Personally, I think you don't tend to see them a lot in some of the other winning lists.
Yeah, mainly Flayers.
Flayers, but the 2 Abhorrent Ghoul Kings and Royal Terrorgeist. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're talking about... It's hard to talk about the rest of the strategy when I'm so zoned in and focused on the 800 points of win lots of games models. In order to not belay the point, I'm just going to move on. But well done, Ken. Big shout out. And then, I don't know how to say this because it's Irish. Is that Ewan or Ian? Ewan. Ewan Lennon with a Grand Host and Nagash. I hope it's Ewan, and if it's not, I'm really sorry. Because it's Eoin. He's got the Grand Host and Nagash. He's got the Nagash, the Supreme Lord of the Undead, and he's got a bunch of spells. He's got Vampire Lord, and he's got the Griff Feather Charm, and he's got the Aramanthine Orb, a Necromancer, 40 Chain Wrath Sword, which is nice. You sometimes don't see that. And then you've got 2 units of 5 Direwolves, and then 30 Grimghast Reapers, the Umbral Spell Portal, and the Cadaverous Barricade. So a fairly standard Legion of Nagash list, which is quite fun, and very much like watching episode 3 of Game of Thrones. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to do spoilers, especially for the podcast. But Nathan, this is what spending 1 command point looks like in the Game of Thrones, or in the Legion of Nagash army. That's it. That's spending 1 command point. Spending that command point. There you go. What did Sidney say? Snuffles and Madcap to hand a Gorkum, but then something about getting pepper sprayed. Remember when we both got pepper sprayed? That was a fucking terrible time. We had a tough time that weekend, didn't we?
That was great.
So cool list.
That was a really good weekend.
That was a good weekend. I just didn't enjoy it when it happened. It's pronounced Owen, I believe. So it's Pete. Hi, Pete, by the way. Okay. Cool. Thank you. And yes, Colonel Cabbage, correct. It is the double dreaded kumquat.
Yeah.
And Nathan, can I ask, because kumquats is a vegetable, right?
Fruit, yeah.
Exactly. So is this why you don't like the fact that I'm a vegetarian? Because you're scared of the Ghoul Kings and Terrorgeists and you hate kumquats?
No, I quite like kumquat.
You like kumquats?
Yeah.
Really
I like loquats as well.
You've just French-manned me. Get your cigarette out. Well, fuck you. I didn't want to hear you talk.
Kumquats, they're alright, I guess. They're, but I don't know.
A Reaper says, Rob, you just made me spit out my coffee. 1 CP, come up, me crow. 1 CP. Anyway. All right, cool. So looks like a cool event. That was over in Ireland.
Yeah.
But also Gitz taken out. I think it was a 5-game tournament.
I think it was. Yeah. I think how many players? About 25.
About 20 or something.
20, 30 players. So yeah.
So that's cool, in my opinion. So then, congratulations to everyone there, and looks like a great event. Next up was Border War, and the only thing I know about Border War is that Chris Welfare won it with Flesh Eater Courts, and I have his list, if you'd like to hear it. It is Flesh Eater Courts, and then the Grand Court of Delusion is the Feast Day. He's got an Abhorrent Ghoul King on a Royal Zombie Dragon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Ragged Cloak and Razor Clawed. And he's got an Abhorrent Art Region. He's got a Crypt Infernal Courtier, who is the general with the trait the Dark Acolyte. And then he's got 9 Crypt Flayers, 6 Crypt Flayers, 3 Crypt Flayers. Crypt Flayers. And then the Dead Watch Battalion. And then he's got the Corpse Mare Stampede. What do you think of that list, Nath?
Cool. So that's not one of the
That's also not one of the two scary.
It's not in one of the whatever they're called, whatever their things are. It's like an independent one where you make your own thing up.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's Sweden in World War Two. Switzerland, Norway. I get confused. Boom says that the NWA Club Night is in Nuneaton this weekend, and we're both invited. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. Cool. And then Clit Flares says Thunderbolt and Lightning. No. Although our chat is full of Clit Flares. That's right, with all their BDE. That's right. All of you. If you're listening right now, you're a Clit Flare.
Cool. No, I mean...
Because even girls are Clit Flares, right?
Yeah.
They flay their own. Probably. Not flay. Flay strong. I'm going to move on. I don't think there's anything funny along this route.
Bean. I think, obviously flesh eater courts are just super strong out there at the moment.
Shut up!
Apparently, that's what I've heard.
I hate people like you on the internet, like claiming that an army is really good without any empirical evidence. Yeah? Just fucking... Who are you to say they're good?
Just some dude.
Just some dude. They know Britannia, I'll tell you that for nothing.
No, they're not.
They're not. The Dinger says mortified. You have my attention and respect, says Thunderbolts and Lightning. Talking about Click Flares, Sinise as well about that. So then you have the Brisbane Open.
Yes.
Yes. So those guys are wonderful guys, by the way, if you've never been down there. If you go down to the woods, if you go to Brisbane. So in first place was Mr. Andrew Wright. Now, I know a couple of things about Andrew because I've done my research.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations to Andrew. He's a giant... No, he's not giant racist. That was just going to be a joke I made. No, the thing to say about Andrew is he won with Fire Slayers, which is amazing. And this is before the book was released. I'm almost certain, but I'll have to double check that. It might not be. In fact, it probably actually isn't, but I'm not sure. But he qualified last year for the Australian Masters with Fire Slayers anyway. So he's pretty much a play that single army dude.
Yeah.
He might play more, but this is the limited information I know. So he went 5-0 and was the only person to go 5-0 at that event, and he did it with Fire Slayers. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
In fact, no, it is with the new rules because he's taken the Vorstrag Lodge. So, do you want to hear what's in his list?
The Vorstock Lodge, I think, was in the old book as well.
Nave, stop hurting me. I can't remember. Right. So,
Pretty sure.
I think it was only that one time we talked about Magmic Tunneling I've ever read the old one. Shout out to Andy Hughes for basically defining the old Fire Slayers meta and also Combat Face podcast. So he had Vorstrog Lodge. Yeah, which I really like as a lodge, by the way, for the Fire Slayers. And then he's got the Auric Runefather on Magmadroth with the trait Fire Endurance. He took the artifact, the Vossax, and he took the Magmadroth trait Ashhorn Ancient.
So new rules.
It is the new rules. He took the Auric Runesmiter on Magmadroth, and I literally don't know why you would not take the Auric Runesmiter on Magmadroth. He's got one of the best prayers. He's got the Nugget. That you can eat to give everyone +1. I just think that's an auto include. So if you've got a Magmadroth at home, you're not sure what to build, a Rune Smiter on Magmadroth, and never a Rune Sun.
Choice.
Never a Rune Sun.
Fuck you, I'd build a
Rune Suns are the worst. You should never have a Rune Sun.
I would build a Rune Sun.
Also, who would you want? A Rune Father? Ignoring rules for a moment, even though the Rune Sun's worse. Who would you want? A Rune Father? You don't want a Rune Son.
Why not?
The son
He's
of
got
a rune.
attitude.
No, you want a go-get-him attitude and a punk heart.
He's like, fuck you.
No, I want the father. I want the daddy, a Rune daddy. That's what I want.
Yeah, but you've got daddy issues.
Don't we all? Don't we all? So then he took the Rune Smite, which is cool. He's got the Ashcloud rune. He's got a Rune Master and Rune Smiter, but that's because he's taken the Lodge of Lodge, which allows a unit to pile in and attack twice. And then he took the best combat unit in the game, Hearth Guard Berserkers. I really do think that they're incredible. The more I read, and they all had broad axes, which actually I don't agree with, but look, the fucking guy won, so I'm wrong in this situation. 2 lots of 10 Volkite Berserkers as well, hand axes and sling shields on those. And he got an extra command point, obviously. What do you think of the list? What do you think, Nath?
Yeah, I do like obviously the Hearthguard Berserkers are pretty sweet. I like the fact that he's got a couple of Magmadroths in there as well. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's still. I haven't looked at the Fire Slayers enough really to be able to say much about them, but they do look like they've definitely become a lot more elite. There's a lot less models in that army than there used to be in the Fire Slayer armies. So they're a more elite army, which is cool. That's what I like.
Yeah, there's people
And-
there with like 120 like Fire Slayers that they had when they were a Horde army, and now they're like, oh, I've got 2 armies, which is cool. You can sell half basically.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I like the Fire Slayers now.
I like the Fire Slayers. I think they're really interesting actually because I've been writing the rundowns for them, and I'm not 100% sure where I would take them. There's like we talked about it last night actually. So you could go for like 14-inch move on the first turn on that big 600 point unit, run across the board, smack into the opponent, and do your damage. Issue is getting your models wholly within of the buffs that you're going to want to survive if they're going to play attrition warfare. And then you've also kind of blown your load on their extra movement to a degree. But then inside of the correct lodge, just the auto run 6 and then run and charge as a prayer, it kind of makes sense to have that kind of scary unit. But maybe you would just do it later with your spare command point, or do you play a kind of more? Or I think this is probably the better way to go. And I was talking to Mr. Andy Hughes about it. Is to kind of turtle a little bit, kind of like slowly move up the board to a degree with that kind of like 300 point unit of threat, just being 600 point unit, sorry, of threat, just being like, I'm going to go and zero in on something because they're super tanky and they're going to fight the attrition warfare, but that one unit is only going to fight in one place. So it's a bit of a monster problem. But yeah, I'm a big fan, and I think it's very cool. And it's nice seeing that they've also included a way to make them very, very fast if you want to build them very fast, which I was a little bit like worried that wasn't going to be the case. But yeah, they've got at least the option. And if you ally, we talked about this, if you ally in a wizard with cogs, they're going like the clappers.
Yeah.
I think we can get up to +5 to charge on one unit. Mental.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, mental. Oscar said, what's the best unit to equip the Berserkers with? Hashtag asking for a friend. I personally prefer the pole axes that do the mortal wounds. And however, in that list, he ran the broad axes. So
I don't think there's that much in it, really. I think both are viable.
I think there is a difference. And so I think the issue is with the broad axes is they've got the rend, which is great, and they do the 2 damage, which is also great. And you can get quite a lot of dice, so you can get like an extra. I think you get at least 1 extra attack. You might be able to get 2 extra attacks, and you can reroll ones to hit. You can get +1 to wound. You can get rerolls to wound. So you can do a bunch of different stuff. But I personally prefer giving. I want to do 1 or 2 things with that unit. I either want to deal with armor, in which case the rend 1, even though you can get an extra rend, or even you could get them up to rend 3 if you roll a 6, which is great. So that's kind of like doing mortal wounds, but that's once per battle at one point. It's a bit risky. Whereas
once per battle for your whole army.
Once per battle for your whole army, absolutely. Whereas the mortal wounds are always going to do the damage, and then you can give the mortal wound weapon enough attacks that if you're fighting something that ignores rend, like Nighthaunt, then you've got a lot of attacks, and the mortal wounds in addition are kind of hitting straight through that ignores rend, and then they're giving them a lot of dice to save at no rend or at 1 rend. I think I prefer the mortal wounds personally. But that's me. Yeah.
Different situations, obviously, different outcomes, really.
Yeah, but what I think you get with the pole axe is more versatility.
I don't know about that. I prefer the broad axes. So.
Okay, there we go. So the answer from our the show host is either. And then Angle says, "Why not both?" Which is a good fair point.
Have a unit of each.
Yeah.
You probably just want to roll it out against a few different things and see what you think. So, like, compare it if you're rolling against a unit of grots or clan rats or something, and then roll it as if you're fighting against a Star Drake or something like that, and just compare it.
Yeah, Sinise makes a really good point as well. They all look the same, so just change turn to turn. No one will know. Sinise, no one in the chat, I think, is a top tier competitive player, which is one of the tactics for playing in the top tier of Age of Sigmar. Is you just kind of make shit up as you go along. Anyway, but well done to
Andrew.
Yeah, to Andrew. And in second place was Gemma. She's been on the show. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she won an event 2 weeks ago with Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah, she won the Australian heat.
She did. And then she's come in second place now with Flesh Eater Courts, Blisterkin, the Abhorrent Art Region, Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, Abhorrent Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon, the Crypt Infernal Courtier, the 6 Crypt Flayers, 3 lots of Crypt Flayers, and the Dead Watch. And then she's also left off 50 points, so she's got another command point as well. So she starts off with 2. So again, very much like some very terrifying monsters, and then a lot of mobility from the Crypt Flayers going and scoring objectives, and then obviously putting more points on the board as well from summoning. I don't think there's loads to say about Flesh Eater Courts if you've seen them play or if you've played against them.
There's been a lot said about them, haven't there?
And that's that, But Gemma's great, so I'm going to say that.
Yeah,
Let's
she's a
double
good
down
player.
on that.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up, something else that people have talked a lot about. In third place was Gary Den Otter. That's his name. And he rocked the Daughters of Cain. And he had Temple Hagnar from the Realm of Gur. And he had a Slaughter Queen on Cauldron of Blood. He had a Blow Rat Medusa, Hag Queen, and Hag Queen. There's 60 points. Did you know that?
Yeah. I've heard that once or twice.
Who have you heard it of?
Everybody that's ever played against them is like 60 points.
60 fucking points. And then you've got 30 Witch Elves, 20 Witch Elves, 10 Witch Elves, 20 Blood Sisters, and then the worst unit in the game, 5 Kinrian Life Takers. 2 units of 5 Kinrian Life Takers and the Cauldron Guard. So a pretty, I would say, standard Daughters of Cain army there. 3 Hag Queens. Sometimes you see 2, 3, but when you've got as many points, when there's 60 points, why not 5?
Can have some redundancy there, definitely.
But big shout out. And again, if you listen to the stat show, we've talked about the fact that Flesh Eater Courts are still consistently an outrageously well-performing army, and they constantly do well with many people across the globe. So it's nice to see them in third place, and well done to Gary.
Yeah. So there were about 90-odd people at that tournament, I think?
It was a really big event, which is awesome. And, yeah.
That's pretty good. I believe there was a Gitz player in 6th place with a Gobbapalooza.
There was a Gitz place in the sec. Do you want to talk about that? Because I know you're excited. Do you tell me? Go on, tell me. Are you excited about that?
Yeah. It's great. I mean, everybody in the Gitz WhatsApp chat has sort of poo-pooed the idea of Gobbapalooza being really competitive, but this guy's gone. I think it's Luke has gone, and he's gone 4-1 with the Gobbapalooza. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's great. I think he's got Gobbapalooza, a big block of 60 grots and a 40 small squig herd and a mangler squig and a few other pieces. But the Gobbapalooza's great at buffing the blocks of grots, really.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got one of them will buff a grot hero. So I think he had Scry Grot in there, and he also had the Loon Boss with the Giant Cave Squig. So you could buff either of those with the Brugit, and then you've got the Scaremonger, can make people a bit more consistent with their charging and stuff. But the main ones, the Spiker, Boggle Eye, and the Shoemancer, at buffing your big unit of grots.
Yeah, it makes him terrifying.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, it makes him really terrifying. I really like what we saw Andy do where he puts the 10 Loon Smashers in. Like, I think that's still solid as a thing. Especially, like, as you talked about, you have to go deal with it, which means the Loon Smashers are going to have an effect. And are you really ever going to lose 60 grots before you're going to get to pop them out? Probably not.
No, not to shooting. Because the grots are quite good because they've got that +1 to save against shooting as well. So,
And then they've got the -1 to hit naturally in combat. So I'd say that they're probably... The only things I could think is if the 2 Ghoul King on Terrorgeist go in.
Yeah,
maybe.
But then you just release... Because you release them in the charge phase. So you can just release them out of range of the Ghoul Kings.
Yeah.
And then in your turn, they can charge in, and they'll fight before the Ghoul Kings, and they should take out a Ghoul King.
Okay. We've had a question in the chat, Nath, before we move on. The Dinger says, I'm getting ready for GTs with my Iron Jaws. Should I just get a different army? Question
No.
mark. Or, I love them, but I always do poorly with them. Lol. What do you think?
You would think they're going to get a new tome before the end of the year. Because they have got one of the oldest tomes now. You're going to struggle, especially against things like the Flesh Eater Courts and stuff like that. And I don't know, they're not that bad against Daughters of Cain, but Flesh Eater Courts is a real anything that stops him fighting, basically.
Yeah, first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you struggle against Flesh Eater Courts and Ideneth. The Gitz probably as well will stuff you up. So it's if you want to win games, then you probably want to look at another army. But with any luck, within a few months you're going to get.
I'd like all the luck if that's possible.
Yeah.
Can I have all the luck?
No.
Lee Bromley says take 90 hard boys. Yeah, I double up on that. And again, if you go and look on the Wargame and look on the stats obviously need a little bit of interpretation, but generally the consensus of this particular man, that would be me, thinks that in a combat game, the other combat armies are just better combat armies.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the brutes are probably some of the nicest models, and in the right combat, they're really good in a fight. So if they're fighting heroes or other big stuff, the problem is that they're only movement 4, and even with an Iron Fist where you get that plus D6 move, they're too slow. So the things, I think the stronger units in the Iron Jaws army are the hard boys, basically because they get that extra move in the charge phase. So they've got that, they trundle up, and then suddenly they just take off when they charge, and they just and if you take them in a big block, they're just great, especially if you can wire them and chanter them up, because at the moment everything stacks in the Iron Jaw army as well.
Yes.
So you can make them pretty terrifying, really. And then I do also rate the Gore Grunter list. So you can either go.
I rate the Gore Grunter list.
Yeah, the Gore Fist, or I would prefer the Blood Tooths with all the with just loads of Gore Grunters and maybe one big unit of Hard Boys, because you're probably nearly as fast as the Gore Fist. Not quite. I mean, the Gore Fist's got that 15-inch takeoff at the beginning, but you've got more consistent move with the Blood Tooths.
You also have got a fairly low drop army as well.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a 1-drop army.
Yeah.
You could even ally, and you could even take cogs as well, just give you that extra speed, and you can quite often just swamp an opponent very early on. You've got loads of command points. Take the Aether Quartz Brooch and just try and get as many wires as you can.
Yeah, and also a key tactic also in those situations, depending on the scenario, but taking out like a couple. I know sometimes it seems a bit obvious, but taking out a couple of, sometimes not the aggressive single block, but a couple of the other smalling supporting blocks can actually be quite beneficial, because as everyone starts losing units into the mid game, and there are a couple of objectives knocking around, it's quite nice when they've lost 10 models here, 20 models here from these other little outlying units, and you're not trying to kill the one single, because obviously sometimes those one single models will just delete whole units. But if you clear all the other things out, a couple of units you have knocking around can actually win your whole games. So there's always something to think about.
Yeah, exactly. If you're fighting something like the Gristle Gore or whatever, if you kill everything else in his army and just leave him with his dragon, sure, that dragon eventually will eat your whole army. But maybe won't have taken will have taken too much time, and you will have scored all the points on the objectives. So I think Iron Jaws, you got to look at the objectives as well. It's not a straight up bash 'em sort of game. You've got to pick your targets and go for the objectives as well, really.
Agreed. Hook and Pin, thank you for getting here. And then also Jason D. Fluffer, thank you for subscribing for 18 months in a row. Jason D. Fluffer. I love Jason D. Fluffer. Yeah. Hi, Pokey John. I hope you're good. Thanks, Nath. I appreciate that. It's nice hearing about Iron Jaws. Where were we? But before we leave Brisbane Open, we can't leave without talking about Mr. Nick Guthrie.
Oh, yes.
With 31 drop Git Mob Grots list, all with snotling pump wagons. What do we think about that?
Yeah, big dick energy.
That's some real big dick energy.
Yeah, it's a crazy list. Yeah.
You know it's caught people's attention when you get it. I've had it WhatsApp to me, DM to me, tweeted at me, Facebook messaged to me. At least 4 different mediums of communication with people telling me, have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
And my answer is yes, and it's wonderful. And they're all painted quite cool as well, and looks hilarious on the tabletop. And I think Nick Guthrie might be he might be the people's champ this week.
Yeah. I bet it's quite an interesting one to play as well.
Very interesting.
I bet you could have some fun with that. All that pumping harder.
Just fucking go, just pumping all day long. Pump. Yeah, very, very cool. So yeah, big love to that guy.
If only there was a battalion for pump wagons.
Did they used to be?
No.
Oh, that would be cool. Right, Nath. So then this weekend, because we're doing this in order of importance. So this weekend, I was at the WS10 one-dayer.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we get on to the next set of results. I am in a cunty mood. That's been my decision, and I'm going to just go with it if you don't mind. So I went to the WS10 one day in Bordsenbrum, and it was it was organised by the guy from the WS10 Gaming Club. And if you haven't been, you can see both Nick and Pete, 2 of the founders of that group, do an interview on The Honest Wargamer on YouTube. Where I went and hung out with those guys and just kind of asked them what it was like building a club. And they've done a wonderful job of building a really big club, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And I won't lie, like I'm a big fan of those guys. So you're not getting anything particularly impartial here, but I don't think I need to be. I think through experience and repeated experiencing of that club and those people, you'd be lucky to play Warhammer with them, to be honest. So there you go.
There's great bunch of lads.
Great bunch of lads.
Definitely, confirm. I've been to their club night. It's a good laugh.
And I would also like to, before I go into the results and also how my games went, I'd like to do a special shout out to Nige. Because Nige is a person. Now, we all know, if you've not listened to the show before, there's a man called Mr. Simon Speckles, and he's the worst player at all of Warhammer. And he lost to Nige. Flesh Eater Court's book came out, and as we know, it's been doing particularly well. But he lost to Nige. But what was interesting is, and Mick Wendell will be really happy about this, he lost to Nige when Nige was running Gutbusters and a few big giants. Nige this weekend with Gutbusters and some more giants beat another Flesh Eater Court's army. So Nige is still currently 100% against Flesh Eater Courts and with Gutbusters. So maybe there's a secret there we all need to learn.
Oh yeah, I've seen a pure Troggoth army beat Flesh Eaters, and I'm like, that's cool.
That is cool.
And it was like five of the Terrorgeist zombie dragon things as well. I was like, went through.
Hook up in the chat says, I watched that video and they were fantastic about how real they are with folk. And then Luvo says, is amazing. Nick is amazing, to be fair. Made me feel really comfortable coming up to Warhammer World and getting it equated with the community when it was new to it all. Also, Luvo's a great painter if you haven't seen his painting, and also just his armies. And he keeps doing pretty well at events. So one to watch out for, El Captain Mongo. Yeah, that dude. So I don't know if this is true. I'm going to need the guys in the chat from WS10 who are in the chat to let me know. But I've heard, Nathan, that Nige's a little bit older than me, but I'm pretty certain I heard that he was raised on giant's milk. he spent 3 months suckling at the teat
of a giant.
And that's how he had the power to defeat Flesh Eater Courts. Yeah.
Nige Dragon's Bane.
Nige Dragon's Bane is his new title. Suckler of Giant's milk.
Teats. He likes to suck on a big giant teat.
Yeah, he does. High loft hammer, by the way. He did actually. Yeah, he did. So he walked in actually because I got there because I was very lucky. Mr. Joe Purcell drove me up. Wonderful man. And I got to hang out with him all of Friday. Him and Max, and we played Warhammer. We talked about everything under the sun. Those are both great dudes to hang out with. And we turned up a little bit late. Me and Joe, and then Nige turned up a little bit later and walked in and just screamed, "Is that big woman here?" Big woman, Nige? What do you mean? Anyway, so I took 24 Kadai, so 2 units of 12 Kadai. I took 3 lots of 10 fire glaives. I took 3 demon smiths, 1 who's my general who could fly. And I took the Zangor Shaman on a dragon called Disc. So I had a bit of a conversion. So I took the Ogroid Thermitage on top of a Warp Fire Dragon, and that was my Zangor Shaman on Disc. But the dragon was called Disc because I'm a narrative wargamer. And I took the Bale Wildfire Taurus from the Beast of Chaos, which I'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
And then in my first game, I played Martin Furnival with his Slaanesh demons. We didn't finish our game, which was unfortunate. He's fairly new to, he's been playing Warhammer for a long time, but he's fairly new to playing AOS. And I knew that the event was not going to be like, it's not like balls to the wall super hardcore. It was like Nick and those guys very much were like, we're meant to all be having fun. So I didn't think my list was particularly good. So I wanted to try it out. I wanted to see what 24 Kadai are like. And they're like, you lose a lot. Like 12 Kadai are amazing, but you need a bit like you need other pieces to support them. You don't just need that same unit again to support them because they different tools for different jobs. So I wouldn't run it in a competitive.
Okay.
No, but I really enjoy playing Slaanesh. Those fiends of Slaanesh, man. Like it was the first time I got to play against them. Like since Wrath and Rapture. They're cool.
Yeah.
They got some cool stuff.
Really tasty. Yeah.
Really tasty. Oh, I've not licked them. Are you meant to lick them?
No, just suck them. Don't lick them. Well, how would you lick them? Suck them.
Angle says that sounds slightly bigger than a Shaman on Disc. It was on the right size base. Don't worry. It's all about what's the most you can get on one base.
Yeah.
That's how Warhammer works.
You always balance it off with another monster if you need to.
You always. You've got loads of. You don't have any. You don't have any extra room on a base in width.
No,
but you have nothing but height around it.
You can always alter the center of gravity just by adding
more shit to it, just as much as possible, and make sure it balances. Thanks, Nick. I should do a review of the event before. So that was my list. Yeah, I'll finish this bit. So I played Martin. We didn't get to finish the game. It's sad, but Slaanesh was really cool. He was really nice to play. I really enjoyed talking to him. It was fun. Like we had a good time. I was pretty chill. I only had 3 hours sleep. I had a cracking day, by the way. I had a fucking cracking day. We called it a draw. I was like, this is a draw. He was like, cool, not a problem. Had it gone on, I think I had the game, but I'm not stressed that we didn't finish the game. I much preferred. He was still learning. He was like, I think I'm rerolling ones. I was like, yeah, bro, whatever you need. Let's have a great time. That harps lady, fuck her. Yeah, from the making me reroll my casting values. I did not like her. She can fuck off.
Ting, ting, ting. Yeah, she's good.
Very good. The Harps lady is particularly solid, I'd say, and a good anti-caster as well. Like it would be nice to get that in the middle of the board early, especially against Skaven. It definitely made me think twice about taking a Skaven army in the future.
And she's great at shooting those casters as well.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, not bad. Yeah, well, I suppose like you talked about taking multiple or even summoning multiple
You
to start.
just summon her as well. Loads of them.
Depravity points everywhere.
And then just create more depravity because she's a hero, isn't she?
Yeah.
And then you'll just be creating more and just fucking shooting at heroes because she hits on 2s, so -1, 3s.
Wounds on 3s, and it's D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. OJ says, fuck the Enrapturous. My opponent ended up with 6 or 7 on the board at the end of the game. Enrapturous gunline. Pow, 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 pow. Yeah. Hello, Frank. WSD Gorlord in the chat. Anyway, nice game. Had a great time. So I haven't done my classic review of a venue.
Oh, yes. How are the hand dryers?
So hand dryers, there were some, and they were fine. Toilets were fine. not bad at all. That's always a classic review on the show. The boards were amazing, considering. So like it was run by the WS10 guys. It was Boards and Brum, which is a really nice venue downstairs. They've got like all the stuff.
Oh, it was expanded in downstairs now.
Yeah, so it was all upstairs, and the shop was downstairs, and it was cool because I saw like the Star Wars game was out. Most importantly, the Game of Thrones game was out. Yeah, and I saw some people playing that, and I was like, nice.
Fire and Ice.
Yeah. And I met the guy that runs the venue. He was real cool. I met him last time I went up there, and I met him again, and he's just really, really nice. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah. The problem is, so while I was there, some people were like, did you enjoy Adepticon? I was like, yeah, I loved Adepticon. It was really cool. It was like amazing. But I had basically the same experience at the WS10 day event that I did at Adepticon. I got to meet loads of cool dudes that play Warhammer, which was great, same as Adepticon. The venue obviously isn't like a fancy, wanky hotel, but like the boards were great, which was the most important part. That's what affected my games. The people I played were great. The management of the event was great, which is arguable that that's a step up from Adepticon, because I actually think that was I did say it last time. Yeah, that was shit. I'm sorry, I'm just going to remake that statement. That was shit. Yeah. I didn't say that last time. I was a bit tender about it. No, it was crap. So that was cool. So I had a great time, and the venue was all right. I needed a coffee at one point, and I went downstairs, and then there was like a private kitchen. You just let me in. You just like make yourself a coffee, and I got it in a mug. And obviously, you can't do that when you have 200 wargamers like they do at Adepticon. Yeah. But do I prefer that personal experience? I think I did. I think I preferred the fact that it was a little bit smaller, and I was just hanging out with everyone.
Yeah, Well, we've been to a couple of like really big tournaments now.
You and me.
Yeah.
We've been CanCon and yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how, and also we've been to the big South Coasts as well. When
we have 150-ish.
Yeah. To 200.
So a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And so far, I mean, they've been super cool because you just get to meet loads of crazy people and have a good time. But I do wonder if the actual organisation sometimes suffers. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes with the Bobo one as well now.
Yeah.
Kind of, because I mean, I really enjoyed all of those things. And I'm not taking that away, but a personal experience now, I'm thinking a more ideal size is like somewhere between 60 to 100 now,
as opposed to 200.
Yeah.
I think that's really true. I think that's true also for the quality of the result for the win.
Yeah.
I'd agree that the interpersonal reactions is because the other thing as well, like with Adepticon, you almost didn't have enough time to like. I could have spoken to. I was hanging out with some amazing dudes at Adepticon, and I could have like. People that really stuck with me was I got to play a game with. So I got to hang out and play games all day with Tom from Warhammer Weekly, and I could have just sat with him for a day and just chatted Warhammer with him. Yeah. Same with Vince. But then I got to play JT and Jeff, and I could have sat down and spent a day talking to them. Cody, the guy like Bill. Like there was just like people I could have spent a whole day just sitting and talking shit with, or playing games with.
And if even like. The guys that we played, Mephisto and those guys that we played the friendly games with the day before, could have just hung out with them all weekend just playing games and be like, or even the dudes that we ended up playing in the doubles. I mean, if I had just played the doubles, I would have been
over the moon.
Yeah. I met some like Old Man Winter and all of those guys. My partner Dan, just getting to know those guys more would have been fine. But
there was a whole bunch of guys who I met who were really like we went for breakfast on the Monday with all those guys. Like I didn't get to play Warhammer against any of them. That was basically my only interaction. And I could have played Warhammer, and it was the same at the WS10 event this weekend. Yeah. I could play Warhammer against Frank. So Frank came second with his Khorne army with Archeon in, which was cool as hell. And then Seb won it with his Idoneth. Yeah, and I've never played Warhammer against either of those two, and I would love to. So I could have done that all day. My second game, against. So my second game against James Powell with his Bretonnian army. I probably could play that game forever. Yeah, like it fucking loads of fun. And sometimes when I look at the Realms of War guys and the narrative war gamers, I'm like, fuck, that looks like a nightmare. But I mean that, like, not like it looks great fun, and I've been to it, and it is great fun, but the volume of work it takes to do that, but the volume of work it takes to turn up and know you're going to play someone like James, who I played with Bretonnia in the second game, and just play Warhammer against him, fuck, I do that all day. Like, so I mirror your feeling about the large events. I'd say that I loved CanCon. Yeah. Maybe it was doing the coverage that was different
Yeah,
to...
so we didn't play in that, so maybe it did feel different, but, yeah.
I would say that the large events I like doing the coverage at because I get to talk to more people, which I enjoy, to be honest. So, yeah. Also, in the chat is one of my favourite people to have a mess around with, Mr. Simon Speckles. A classic Robin Speckles mess around. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to Bobo. Not sure, like you say.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes again.
Yeah. So, but it was great. It was organised really well. It was really fun. The atmosphere was electric, to be honest. Just wicked funny. Second, I played James with his Bretonians. Me and James played a while ago when I went to play at the Scribes Wargaming Club over in Canterbury. And but yeah, the train was awesome. Boards were great. And James won best sports at that event. He got my best sports vote. The other two people I played were great as well, but he was just a barrel of laughs. He had a horn every time his knights charged. Also, the trebuchet from Bretonnia is really solid. That does some really good work. That can fuck off. I'm glad that's a compendium army now. But yeah, he was great fun. We were just having a barrel of laughs. When I played at Scribes, his Louis Loncoeur had just kicked the fuck out of all of my army. We were in this kind of like doubles fun game. I made it like my personal quest to destroy him. At one point, I ran one of my units onto an objective, and James was really annoyed that I was playing the actual game. Which I really respected. So yeah, we had loads of fun and comfortably, again, up there with just one of those great games of Warhammer. You know, you just put in that category of, I play Warhammer like that all the time, to be honest. So, I mean...
Cool.
And then my third game, I played against the lovely Mr. Tom Bridges. And it was his like third or fourth game of AOS with his army, I think. Maybe with that army. Not ever, but maybe with that army. And he had Nighthorn, and he had lots of Grimghast Reapers and Banshees. But in the first turn, I gave him the first turn, and then my first turn, all my spells went off. So, which was really fun to see it in action, and we'll talk about this as kind of a post thing. Seeing it in action was the Wildfire Taurus. And if you don't know, that's the endless spell from the Beast of Chaos book. And its ability to just go through an army and make it always strikes last gives you... and it worked well against James and his Bretonians as well. But I'd say it's so underrated as a spell. And I'm happy the General's Handbook's already been written like months and months ago, because it might get to go down in points. And if it gets, it's great for 100 points. If it goes down to like 60 or 80 points...
Be a steal, yeah.
It's a steal. Because the security it gives you when you cast it, depending on, like, if you are going second in a battle round, casting it and knowing that your opponent's army is always strikes last now is fine, because it means I can run my army forward, and if I make charges, I'm going to get to hit them first. But if I don't, I can, as with the case with when I played James, what happened is once the spell had gone off and hit his army, and it was right next to his army, I knew that if I lost the priority roll, he was going to be striking last, so I wasn't scared of his melee units. Yeah. And if I won the priority roll, I was going to get to move, and I was outside of the range of the Taurus, move and charge, and I'm not scared of his... I got to do the combat. So it's...
Puts you so much in control, especially with a combat. Yeah.
It ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And like I loved it, and I rarely see it on the tabletops. And I'd like to play Beast of Chaos now, not Enlightened, because I'd like to play the game, not just win the game.
Ask Joe how that goes.
Mr. Joe Purcell. Yeah. But it was just phenomenal in its use. So I got 2 wins and a draw. Not that I really was trying to keep track or try, but most importantly, I played 3 really great games. And everyone around me seemed to be having really great games as well. I saw Gareth I'm a big fan of Gaz. Yeah, and he was playing with his all of his squigs, and then he was up against El Capitan himself with all of the trolls. Yeah, and I would probably just sit like a child and watch that game of Warhammer forever.
Squigs v Trolls.
Squigs v Trolls.
Troggoths.
Versus Troggoths. Tuggy was there he had loads of Dispossessed, and he fired off. He had an ally though in a cannon, basically cheating.
He's tying one arm behind his back.
Yeah, right. Basically, he ruined it. He ruined it having a cannon. But
it's like Dan, unsupervised, taking all of those Stormcast. I mean,
well, what's he doing?
Well, he's just trying to give other people a chance, aren't he? Because Stormcast are only about 50% win rate on there.
Yeah.
And Dispossessed are 60. So
Fuck.
you just take a Stormcast ally just to
I was hoping
give other people a chance.
I was hoping that you never paid attention to the stat show, so you never know this.
Had so many people text me that.
In case people don't listen to the stat show, do you want to catch people up, Nathan?
Well,
what happened?
So, I think what's that thing that you played? Legion of
Asgore.
That compendium.
Legion of Blasblah, I think is what some people call it. But yes, I played the Legion of Asgore, yeah.
The Legion of imaginary bullshit.
Yeah, a real army, but sure. Yeah, carry on with your point.
And I think they're like 58% win rate or something like that. So then one Dispossessed player goes and has his 5-game tournament and
wins 3, so he gets a 60% win rate.
Yeah, 60% win rate. That's only because he took the Stormcast just to bring himself down. Otherwise, I mean, because they're only 50% on there.
If you'd like to dogpile on someone, in the chat, Elmbird says Legion of Asgon versus the Discontinued. So for me and Nathan, in particular, Elmbirds, fuck you.
Anyway,
yeah.
But I think there were a few Dispossessed at the Australian one, so probably
brought the stats down. They also played at the South Coast GT as well, so we'll talk about that in a second.
I think they only won 1 or 2 games there as well.
So they've picked up a few more grudges over the weekend. Good.
I think the stats might have changed again.
Good. I'm glad they have. It makes me happy. But yeah, the event was won by Ideneth. It was just a one-dayer. Second place was Khorne, and Frank's got a really cool Khorne army, actually. And those Scribes guys, I think, actually have got some pretty solid gamers in there, as have the WS10 guys. Yeah. And it's quite nice watching them as well. They don't tend to get the kind of like vocal, like podcast wankathon, where everyone's like fingering each other's arsehole. I'm talking to you, Rage of Sigmar. They, there's some pretty solid gamers out there who are a little bit underrated. So something to watch out for as they go and take on the big boys in the future. They know their tomes really well, and they know their units really well. So I think they're going to be gunning for some of the top spots, which I quite am excited about. So yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, it sounded good. I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, I know. I was sad that you missed it, as was everyone else was sad that you missed it, because everyone was just asking where you were. They didn't really give a fuck about the fact I was there, which is fine. Like, I don't care about that, but it was funny.
Sure.
I had to like keep like making excuses. Oh, Ang, thank you for subscribing for a year, 1 year of Big Dick Energy for subscriptions. Sinistrous hands all round. Before I move on, actually, and talk about the results from the South Coast, how can I approach this? I don't know if I want to. Yeah, let's go for it. So one of the things that I liked about the weekend, actually, was, again, playing with my Chaos Dwarves. And as you pointed out, they're like kind of, I don't know, what do you rate them as an army? Like, competitively, if you're putting your serious hat on for a minute.
What sort of...
What kind of, like, tiering? Where would you put them? In the kind of, like, middle, top?
Yeah, middle.
Middle.
Yeah, middle style army.
Yeah, I'd say that's about fair. But I've enjoyed playing them for the past 8 or 9 months. I think I've developed some skills and I worked really hard. But one of the things I think that's come up, because what I'm not trying to do is kind of like win tournaments. Because I saw a couple of things online, and I'd like to maybe like, I don't know what's the best way to maybe pour some gasoline on the fire. Basically, I think, and it was true when I was at Adepticon as well, I think that people maybe listening or maybe people watching, because I worked for Games Workshop for 2 years, where I'd made that conscious effort, and as a friend, that I'd said that I'd made that conscious effort that going to tournaments, winning a tournament wasn't. So what I'm not is the lead developer of the game, and I'm going to take broken armies and potentially cheat at tournaments because for some reason I've got some like deep personal emotional flaw that I need to fulfill by winning an event. Like, I'm pretty happy with my life. I don't have any issues with that. But I do like playing Warhammer, and I do like gaming and winning. But that over that 2 years, I wasn't particularly on the road to working too hard to win tournaments, and you were aware of that, right?
Yeah.
I just like playing with the mechanics. And then since then, doing the Honest Wargamer, feel basically the same. I'm not too interested. I don't feel like I need to come first at every tournament. And in fact, it's not overly my intent. I just feel that what I need to do is go to tournaments and see the games to understand what's happening, so I can relate it to the people listening at home and translate it. That's what I've always thought of myself as a job. But I think that this means that some of the newer players that have been around for maybe like a year or so, or only a couple of years, think that I'm not very good at Warhammer. So what I might do is play a really good army and beat the fuck out of them, because I find it quite fucking rude, if I'm honest. Because I'm all right at Warhammer. Like, I know that I am. I don't need you as a listener or you as a watcher to think that I am. And I don't really give a fuck about your opinion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some armies. I'm going to fucking smash some people. So if you're one of those top gamers out there listening, I think you're probably a bit shit, because there's about 4 people that I think are good. And I've travelled the world, like, and watched people play. And I don't think I'm one of those good people, but I don't think you are either. Right. And I'm going to take you on, and I'm going to take a good army, and I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And you're not going to know what's happening, and it's going to be a bit embarrassing. So I just like you all to know, if you're in somewhere like of the top 100 of the world, you've pissed me off a little bit, to be honest. And so I'm going to come and take you on. And I'll use an actual fucking army. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to carry on and just say some shit about me online, feel free. But apart from that, because I talked to you about it last night, didn't I?
Yeah.
And it annoyed me, because I like having fun. I really like the WS10 guys.
Yeah.
Because Nick and them guys would rather have an enjoyable game than a fun. And if
Take an army that's a challenge as opposed to something that just walks over stuff.
Yeah,
9 times out of 10.
Yeah, right. And also, and the other thing that I like to do, which I think is quite nice, is I like to play my rules fair, and I like to measure the distances that models go. 2 very valuable traits in Warhammer that I value. And some of the top tier gamers don't do that either. So I'm also going to go on the tabletops and play them, so I can fucking call them out on it time and time again. Yeah. But if you're just one of the nice people who want to play Warhammer, we'll just have a laugh. Don't worry about it. I already know who I'm talking about, and I'm going to get you. Yeah, and you're not going to know what's happened to you, because I've been playing nice for a few years, and so I'm not going to. Fuck them guys. So that's my little rant, because it really annoyed me, and it upset me a little bit. Yeah, because I was like, I'm not scared of you piss ants. Which is why I do the coverage, because I don't want to upset them, little crybabies. Yeah. Anyway.
There you go. That's told them.
Well, no, it just annoyed the shit out of me. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
And because playing nice is nice, like, and I've been all about that for a while. So I'm not too stressed about when I play people like when I was at the weekend. There's no point in gunning for it, because who am I gunning for? It's just sad. And I do think that I like competitive Warhammer, but I like fair competitive Warhammer. Like, if you're like a little fucking bitch that turns up and cheats at like what have you won? Like, what have you won?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What have you done at an event if you've just gone and, like, in the public sphere, won like a shit tin trophy or something, maybe, yeah, in the respect of like a couple of hundred, maybe not even that. I think if 200 people go to a competitive event, I only think about 40 people give a fuck who wins. Everyone else is like, I had a great time, whatever. Uh-huh. So address your own values is what I'd say. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
There you go.
Fucking dicks. Moving on. So we'll talk about the South Coast. South Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. GT. 120 people in a school hall playing Warhammer. Pretty cool. You saw all the coverage online. There's not much to say about it in total. Looked like a fun event. Everyone seemed to have a great time.
Generally quite good. Normally a nice.
I got a little bit too much into that speech than I wanted to. I just kind of wanted to bypass it, but I didn't, so fuck it. You got any thoughts? Want to calm me down? Be like, no, don't worry about it.
No, we were just talking about the South Coast then. It's It's normally I've been there a couple of times. It's a great place. You meet some cool dudes. I mean, that's where we met the Swedes. So made some really good friends from that. Got to hang out with Wildman and stuff like that. The ones that we've been to before, Destruction Car and all of that. So yeah, it's great. It's a great little event. I think every now and again they have a few problems when they get really big, like I was saying before. But I would have thought it was probably better for it this year when it was
having less
120 odd
120.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first one we went to was 60 odd or 90 maybe 60.
So we
odd
went to the very first Age of Sigmar South Coast GT when this was before the General Handbook. And the first General Handbook points were based on the points for that event, and then the points for that event were based on MoComp.
Yeah.
I don't remember who won it.
Somebody that needs taken down a peg or two,
Some
probably.
fucking some dickhead, yeah. Anyway, so it was won by Jack Armstrong, and he run a Daughters of Cain list, having said that they were fine over Christmas. Yeah. They're fine. And he took a Slaughter Queen on Cauldron.
They're obviously great if they can win. Yeah.
Yes, yes, they can.
They are fine.
He took. I can't be asked to talk about it. I'm going to move on. In second place was Ben Sava, and Ben got. And we all love Ben. Ben also took Daughters of Cain. Same thing.
They were great.
Yeah, they did great also. Were they the same? Slightly different. Cauldron Guard versus Slaughters. And in third place was Tom Maudsley, and he had the Verminlord Warpseer, Verminlord Corruptor, Verminlord Deceiver, Lord Screech Vermin King. Nice choice. Greyseer with Skit Elite. I like that. Double Skit Elite. We were talking about this last night, weren't we? 3 lots of 10 Clan Rats, and then he had the Pendulum, the Ugwish, Soul Slayer Shackles, the Spell Portal, Vermintide, Warpline the Vortex, Chronomantic Cognizant, Prismatic Palisades. I did see him say online that he said that no 2 games were the same, and he had a blast. And this looks like an amazing
looks
list.
like
it's
a great
1, 2,
list.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 endless spells, which is just amazingly cool. I mean, it's not 13.
Were they playing in the realms?
They were playing the Realms.
Yeah, so that's even better. I don't think they were using all the spells though, were they?
No,
just one.
They would chose one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing that they've done now, where everyone decides they're going to just pick one. So, whatever. But I think that's awesome. And we talked about this when we did the coverage at Sheffield. I mean, all of the Verminlords and the Greyseers are too cheap points wise. That's just a fact. Or everything else needs to get cheaper points wise. But then it kind of allows you to take all of the extra spells that you need.
Stuff.
But realistically, if you actually look at it as a list, it's quite light on bodies. And in a game where you score objective based on number of models around an army, around an objective, the 3 lots of 20s, so it's quite a brave list realistically.
Yeah, but then a lot of those spells will affect how your opponent moves and stuff, so you can pretty much guarantee you can zone your opponent out of areas using all of those spells, can't you?
And it's also well above the kind of spell casting cap that you kind of get sometimes. So you get like the like I've got 2 unbinds, and I found this when I was playing James with his Bretonians, because he has got a 2 Castle Wizard, but he did really want to put like a 5-up a DPR, so a 5-up Shrug on his Bretonian Lord, but then he kind of had to get rid of the Wildfire Taurus at the same time. And the same was true when I played. I talked about Tom. I played Tom in the final game, and he was great. So
number of spells casting value, because with all of those Verminlords in there, and they all cast 2 spells each, and you've got a Greyseer in there as well. So he's got how many Verminlords? 4, isn't it?
4, yeah.
4 plus the Greyseer.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, with Screech Vermin King and a Greyseer.
So you got 10 spells you can potentially cast there, and 8 of those are endless spell. And the Verminous Law, although the Verminlords don't get access to that law, do they? But their own spells, or each of them have got their own spells, which are pretty decent.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the endless spells they can cast there, the Realm spell, and then the Greyseer has obviously then got access to the law. What spell did he take from there? Skitterleap, was it?
Yeah, Skitterleap. Yeah. We talked about that, right? Though double Skitterleap's the future, in my opinion. Did you also see Paul Buckler's display board with his Seraphon?
I saw a little picture. Yeah.
Looked amazing. Looked amazing. Yeah, really, really, really cool. I was a big fan of that personally. Looked like a cool event. Like obviously there were lots of cool armies. Double Daughters of Cain, It's pretty dull. They're still great.
Yeah,
And
still really
having
good.
won another event this weekend, them and Flesh Eater Courts are still... Those hags still need to be more than 60 points, but, you know, it is what it is. So 6 games as well over the weekend. So you got a clearer winner, which is a nice way of putting it, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
Sterno Bomb, thank you so much for subscribing for 2 months in a row. Only 4 FEC turned up, though, says LLV.
Do you know where the top destruction player was?
No, but I do know a really cool thing.
Yeah.
I know that in 81st,
Yeah.
Mr. Paul Berridge
Oh yes, with his
came,
dispossessed.
got with his dispossessed.
So yeah, not in the top half. So if I remember correctly, the top destruction player was a Gloomspite Gitz player at 56.
56. That was top destruction.
Yeah.
Did you see the top 10?
Yes. I did,
It was
yeah.
great. It was Flesh Eater Courts, Skaven,
daughters.
and then you had
one-
Omar Wildman running with a
With the masters list.
he took Khorne, didn't he?
He took Khorne. Oh yes, he did. He took
took
Khorne with Archaon, didn't he? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, really, again, 6 games. And what's really interesting about 6 games, even in a pool of 126, is you can start to see it filters armies a little bit better, and seeing Skaven and Flesh Eater Courts and Daughters of Cain dominate that top bracket. I saw some hilarious comments that people had said people have forgotten about Daughters of Cain, and it was like, if you listen to the weekly stat show, we haven't. But then there was the one standout, a hero amongst them all, Mr. Chris Myhill, with his mixed order,
Yes.
just being a Bruce. And
Those Bruces can play so well. You look
really,
at their
really well.
lists and you kind of wonder how they work, but they just a lot of MSU sort of just using,
they're just brave.
using everything. Yeah.
Yeah, they're brave with units.
Well, they know what all the units can do because I think they must play a lot.
They play a lot.
They do know I can get this unit to do this, and they just send them out to do that. Whereas other people might be a bit more
Their sense
circumspect.
of board control is also really excellent as well. Whenever I've seen them on the tabletop, they're always thinking about the angles, and they're always looking for gaps. One of the things that they do quite well is eyeball stuff. So like sometimes people are measuring like whether or not you could possibly deep strike a unit at the back of the board. They're kind of eyeing it and going, "Oh, you've left a 3-inch gap there." I know for a fact my model is 3 inches deep because they're both got a trade, haven't they? Like so they're kind of quite like visual people.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, Darren is another one of the Bruces, Watson. So you got like 3 just fantastic gamers that have like played with each other constantly, and it was a real privilege to meet them when I started doing Warhammer Live. And I started seeing them at events, and it was really cool getting to hang out with them and then seeing them grow into these kind of like absolute beasts that you've seen over the past few years. Just kicking it. And also, there was a couple of Slaanesh choices as well up there as well.
Slaanesh.
And Brian Carmichael did his classic top 20 at South Coast GT every year. Without fail. Don't matter, just bring a list. He'll just do top 20. He'll do something. Top 20 every time. So overall, what do you think of the events and the things that we've seen?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah?
A bit sad about destruction again there on that one.
You're sad about it?
Yeah. I would have
Do
hoped
you feel that they
you
can't
get-
compete?
No, I think they can. I just I don't know why. I guess at the moment all the top players, there's not a lot of top players taking them because they are a bit of a challenge at the moment still. I think the Gits have got some stuff, but again, it's easier just to take Daughters or Flesh Eater Courts or Skaven because you just get more for your bucks, really, don't you? And it's easier to play. So, yeah.
Good. All right. I would say I think it's interesting. Again, there wasn't a lot of shooting at South Coast. What do I think of the meta at South Coast? I think actually there's a lot of hobbyists who go to the South Coast, and you generally tend to find the same like 10 or 12 people filter to the top because they're kind of jumping on the backs of a bunch of kids. Like, not that they're kids, but do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, that was my experience a couple of times when I went. because I don't think it's like 126 like cutthroats. I think it's like 12 cutthroats. Whereas my experience at CanCon was friendlier, just across the board, and then my experience of Adepticon, gaming wise, that actually I think America had a really good innings, like in impressing me, and that's just my impression. And obviously, I wasn't at South Coast this year, so that's not a fair like. That's just been my experience on other years. So some years things are like. But you generally talk about the environment that people come from. Like CanCon, you had like all the Brisbane boys turn up, and they're all pretty fucking good at Warhammer. Then, then you had all the Sydney boys, and they're pretty decent at Warhammer. Then you had Joel, and Joe, and all those guys turn up, and they're pretty good at Warhammer. So you got like quite a few big good clubs, and same was true at Adepticon. You had like teams travel, and the teams are pretty good. Whereas it's a bunch of locals, is it? Like, I don't know. My thoughts.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, Raker says, I'm offended.
Who says that?
Raker. By the way, the Complandium is the Asgore equivalent of the Book of Grudges. The Complandium. Gitz won an event in Ireland too. Yeah, we've already covered that. Don't worry. A couple of weeks went along, and I'm jealous, says Restef. So, yeah, cool. 3 weeks till Bobo, though.
Yeah.
3 weeks till Bobo, the Bravery One British Open, over 200 players playing Warhammer. Is going to be pretty scary.
Yeah, we'll see how many make it, because you always have them dropouts.
You do have those dropouts, don't you?
Hopefully we can get it over the 200 point.
One of the really exciting pieces of news is obviously Clint from the Heralds of War is flying over.
Yeah.
So we've got, and that was crowdfunded, so that's really cool. So they're flying over he's going to fly over to kick ass. Which
it'd be good to see him again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And there's going to be just loads of cool dudes. The Warhammer, wrong job. The Honest Wargamer live team are going to be there, and we're going to be doing all the coverage.
Yep.
So if you guys are interested, book the weekend off, put your feet up, and get a cup of tea on and get ready. That's May the 14th and 15th.
Jump in a car and head over.
Well, they can't watch it. What, you mean play?
Yeah,
I don't think there's any. Is there any tickets left?
I'm sure we can squeeze them in.
Yes. Hashtag make it 400.
Yeah.
If you'd like to come, please message at Warhammer AOS on Twitter. Or just go onto the Bobo website.
Yeah, go onto the website. I'm sure you can nick a ticket.
Yeah.
Stress John out just at a last minute flood of tickets.
May It Be has asked me a question. Are you going to the ETC this year? No comment. I'd like to pass you on to my press secretary, Nathan Prescott. Nathan, I'll pass it on to you. Can you leave a comment for me?
Etc. etc. etc.
Etc. etc. No comment. May It Be has done a sad face. I'm so sorry. Luvo says, we'll definitely be watching Bobo. I reckon my missus will be in labour. Can't miss that coverage. Okay. Bring the Aussies over. Oh, yes, cool. So, good. Loads of cool events. Anything you want to talk about? All be good.
No, I think that's cool.
Excellent, excellent. So that's going to be the show for today. That's because behind the scenes there's some secret things happening, so you guys are going to have to wait to find out what that's going to be. Yeah. But it's going to be... Oh, Hypnocracken says, I'll be coming to England at the end of the year and plan on going to Warhammer to buy a Legion of Asblar army. Since it's just as cheap.
That's a mistake.
Because he says it's just as cheap or cheaper to fly and buy than order one, but also going for a vacation, says Hypnocracken. Hypnocracken, message me. Maybe you could buy mine. Like, I'll be done then. Even though they're cool as shit and I do really like them. But I do want to go and fucking absolutely pwn some idiots. And be like, no, sorry, that's not how you move a model. It's going to be real fun.
12 inches is this long, not that long.
I mean, that's some of the basics. Yeah. Have you read your rules? Is going to be one of those other basics. Yes. So
that's the thing about when you stream something. Sometimes you look at things and you think, that surely you can't do that. So
because it can't.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
Because it doesn't.
So
it's the easiest answer. Yeah. Also, I would say you've done some of the stream events now. Actually, so I know my personal experience, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Like, so I've done like a lot of streaming and travel around the world. Like, and you've done it now a couple of times with the Honest Wargamer and me. I'd love to know what you think. Like, do you? I think playing games, you learn a lot for yourself. like on how to do things, move things, or whatever. But it's so situationally dependent and personal. Whereas when you watch, especially when you're doing the coverage and you're having to concentrate for 2.5 hours to do the commentary and you're doing some other stuff, do you think that is equal to, more or less rewarding than actually playing the game, or has it taught you loads because you've seen not your army versus someone else, but two different armies playing? Like, how would you rate it?
I do think you learn a fair amount watching the game.
So I'm more not as a viewer, but as like when we're doing the involved stuff.
Trying to analyze it. But then, I do think you reach a certain point, whereas you'll learn different things if you play that game against that person.
By doing.
Yeah. So I think you do need to do both.
I agree that you need to do both, but would you, what if you only do if you only play, would you say that there's nothing you can learn by doing? Would you say there's still other things to learn from doing the coverage, or do you think you'll just get that through playing?
I think, I mean, obviously by watching, you're observing probably twice as much as if you were playing, because normally you're going to play your own army, so you know that army, so you're only learning what you're playing against. So I think you probably learn faster. But then if you play loads of games, it's probably similar. I don't know. It's not something I'd thought about. I must say, watching the games, it's interesting comparing play styles and how people use their tools and stuff like that. It's quite interesting to watch that.
The thing I found was that you see, like you said, with play styles, is especially when you're watching lots of different people and you're starting to add it all up and turn it into like a kind of like knowledge base, is what you actually end up doing is you start to like categorize people. You'd be like, you only play this way. Like you can kind of like some people just go forward, or some people just sit back. And once you know that about them, it doesn't matter what army they're playing in the future, you can pretty much be like, I know how they play.
Yeah. I mean, that can be a bit dangerous sometimes, because every now and again they can act out a character.
Oh, you got a bit brave, did you, today? Oh, we got up there a bit.
It's fair enough. It's quite cool to see. So it's quite cool to see the interaction between different play styles, which you don't really see when you're playing the game yourself. So if you see somebody that's really tight with all their movements, playing against somebody, or and is really very precise in how they do the rules, how they explain stuff and everything, and then you play against somebody that's just a bit more relaxed and different play styles.
Yeah,
it's quite cool to see. Yeah.
I think it's very cool to see, and especially watch them interact.
Different. It's quite cool. It's just interesting. Yeah.
I think so. I think actually I've learned a lot through that, like especially improving my own play style, or being chameleonic with my play style.
Yeah. I've definitely re-looked at my own play style and thought back to particularly the beginning year or two of Age of Sigmar. And I think I've certainly tightened up on a few things where I think I was a bit loose before. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah. Same here as well. Reflex Training, Dog Training has just subscribed for 3 months, and I just want to say thank you for that. There we go. We're good. Well, I've enjoyed tonight. Thank you, Nathan. I really appreciate it, as always. So next week, I'm almost certain that we're going to be back with some actual rundowns. And watch this space, because we're not quite there yet. The Patreon guys will get to find out tonight or tomorrow. But you might get more than one a week. You might get several. It's quite cool. So I'm looking forward to that in the future.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything you want to add before we go off, Nath?
No, I think that's cool. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you describe your playstyle as? Everyone, Raker, what would you? The Twitch chat, what would you describe your playstyle as?
I think my playstyle is quite reactive. I do like to push forward and present options to my opponent, and then I react as to what they do. I kind of like to look for mistakes, or where I see very small mistakes that they make, and then try and capitalize on those. but quite often it means that I make mistakes myself because I expose myself.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zemini, thank you
draw
for subscribing
people-
for 10 months,
Yeah.
by the way.
So I do tend. Yeah, I think.
Shit,
I
we've
play
got something.
Well, I think I play a bit too loose with how I just chuck my stuff out and then I scramble, and sometimes I scramble good and sometimes I don't.
Okay.
And you?
Recently, so the classic joke between us obviously is castle, right? But recently, like, I'm really into, like, I've told you the between phase. So between priorities is kind of like where I'm getting really excited at the minute, and then like managing where people are going. I mean, against alpha armies or armies that just like womp, that's always challenging. But it would be nice. And again, I don't have a particularly high threshold of threats in my Chaos Dwarf army. Unlike the Kadai are fine, but they're like as problematic because they are useful. Like they'll fuck me as much as they'll do the things that I want them to do sometimes. And the same is probably true for the Fireglaves. It's like there's not consistency to them. So I'd like to experiment more with range stuff because previously I have in the past ran a very ranged force, and it would be fun to try something like that again.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of using very like fragile units and doing some big damage with the fragile units. That looks really fun. So I'm exploring. I'm style curious, is how I would describe myself. And it's been.
So, but
It's been like 3 years since I ran the fucking Winterleaf.
Yeah.
So like that was me 3 years ago. I've
so
moved
what's
on a lot.
your play style? How do you try and open the game? How do you try and open up your opponent to get into them, or are you more about
Reactive.
Yeah.
Like
Are you reactive, or do you try and proactively engage? Do you try and make a plan beforehand?
Oh no! I like to give myself so at the minute, obviously with the Chaos Dwarfs specifically, the intent is so I've always struggled with the army's always been good at like being in my deployment zone and dealing with that. So if you come to me, we're golden.
Yeah.
The issue is because it's a high drop count. Is if you have a low drop count and you can outrange me, and most armies can, realistically.
Yeah.
If you can outrange me, then you're just going to give me the first turn, and then you're just going to come and abuse me, and then if you get the priority, you're going to win. And it's such like a tier 1 playstyle that some people have. That you just and it's also a very it's a playstyle that a lot of the top gamers have because it's just super effective and efficient. It requires very little thought. So I intentionally, same as my Seraphon list in AOS 1, which did pretty decent several times. It's something that can be reactive. So I needed something in my Chaos Dwarf army, and I've always changed what it's going to be. It's always been it was a Corruptor, it's been a Mammoth, it's been a range of different things, but I've needed something that can reach out in the first turn so that you worry about giving me the first turn.
Yeah.
So at the minute, it's definitely a reactive playstyle, and I've been able to, a really good example would be when I played against Sean, wonderful guy, Nuke Doctor, or when I played against Tony. Tony knew that, my Vermalor Corruptor was a threat, but, a risky threat. I need to roll an 8 for him to be particularly dangerous.
Yeah.
But I left him in the middle, out in the open, for Tony to come and eat him up. And then Tony took it, and he can't not take it because he's probably the right decision to take it. But also it means he's in the place where I want him to be. So I would say that my current playstyle is controlling. I like to control my opponent. I want them to do what I want to do, even if it seems advantageous for them. The issue is, or where it can go wrong, is if they think outside of my thinking and then they fuck me. It hasn't really happened overly yet, to be honest. Last year I beat the French ETC team with Chaos Dwarves, right? And they had Daughters and Legions and Nagash. So I'm cool with... and I've only lost to Feck, and then where else have I played? I played anywhere else serious with them? Oh, I played at, I lost to Nick Thompson, and I never mind losing to him, and that was great with Daughters. And I lost a fucking Stormcast because a mammoth can't kill one hero. And sometimes dice fuck you as well. But yeah, my current, that's how I currently am thinking. And that's why I'm super obsessed with the Endless Spells. That's why I think Tom Mausley's list is probably one of the better lists in the game. Because it's a list he's having to play quite a lot. And I love that. And the sheer volume of decisions that he's making his opponent make, and is making me make, is good. I want someone to just be like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. Which is why I'd like to go back to my Seraphon, I think. I still think there's something there. Yeah. But they don't have the threat. And I want threat, not because I even want to do something with it. I want it to be bait. I want it to, if I get the opportunity to do something with it, I will. But I'm more than happy to give it up if it means I get the thing that I want.
For the position, yeah.
And the Chaos Dwarf list doesn't really have that. Doesn't have you talk about the Kadai, but the secret is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the court, is the Kadai are shit. They're good at holding a thing. They're good at, this is how I play them all the time. I put them there, and then people charge them, and I'm like, sweet, you won't kill them, and then they'll do you a bit of damage back, and then 80 Fireglaves are going to shoot you because you've hit them instead of hitting my big juicy. And the Fireglaves can take a hit, but I lose so much output in hitting them. The Kadai don't really have a lot of output. They do and they don't. They just it's 3s and 4s. Yeah, it's 60 attacks if I hit with all of them, but I hit with 6 of them. Now it's 30 attacks. So really, I'm getting 10 damage through, and against a 4-up save, I'm doing 10 damage with 6 of them. That's not a lot, really. When a unit of fucking plague monks can just wipe them in a turn. So if you're dying to them, then you're making a mistake. Is that okay? Yeah, that's those are my thoughts. Yeah, those are my thoughts at the minute. Slaanesh says Nathan is a trap for your heart. I think that's good. My actual other main playstyle is playing like Speckles.
What's that?
Just run everything. So the thing I forgot to do before we say goodbye. So if you're listening and you don't want spoilers about Game of Thrones, I will let you leave now. Stop listening to the show. Okay. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Thank you to everyone on Patreon and Twitch. You guys are wonderful. Thank you to all the people around the world. Now, that's enough time. We're about to start talking about Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Goodbye, Pokey John. Goodbye to everyone who doesn't want to hear it. In Game of Thrones, in Season 8, Episode 3, Nathan, we saw the Battle of Winterfell. This is going to contain loads of spoilers, so stop listening. If you don't want to hear it, don't listen. Right? Nathan, they defended a castle. So if you guys haven't watched Game of Thrones, you don't want to watch it, and you're still listening, or if you've watched it, there's a castle, and then they have an amazing group of foot infantry, an amazing group of cavalry, and they have some war machines. And they're fighting a horde of the undead, and they have 2 dragons. That's their army. The army is undead dudes and 1 dragon. Yeah, so they're already outnumbered, 2 dragons to 1 dragon. So you pair them off, 2 dragons go fight the 1 dragon. Yeah, we're sound with that strategy. Nathan, correct?
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about the rest of the strategy. What would you do with the artillery? Let's talk about that first. What would you do with the artillery?
Screen your whole army.
LV asks, did Speckles consult on the defense of Winterfell? What would you do?
Because it's crazy. It's not like because it's not a tabletop game. They didn't even have to stay 3 inches away or anything. There was no screening. Why did they put those there?
Why did they put the artillery at the front? That's the first question. Yeah.
And why did they only shoot once? And then
now that's the follow-up. But interestingly, they didn't put the artillery at the front because they put their cavalry in front of it. In front of the artillery. So the artillery should have been at the back, potentially in the castle.
Well, I think so. They had that moat. They should have just defended the moat with the bodies.
We need to break it down bit by bit. Yeah. So they've got the picket line. My second question is, with the picket line, why wasn't it much further out?
Yeah.
So you have the picket line, and then you
have... That breaks that charge.
That breaks the charge.
Then you stab them as they're coming through the flames.
Then you have your foot infantry. Yeah. And then you harass the flanks with the cavalry.
Yeah. And then... So simple. But I don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
So simple. Instead, they fired their artillery once... what's that?
At their own horses.
Their own horses. And then the first thing they did, a classic Alpha Strike move, where they just charged. And this has happened to me in Age of Sigmar as well as it happened to you. What you do is you take your cavalry, or someone takes their Alpha Strike list, and they charge your screen, and then you're like, that's fine. And then you just hit them back, and you win the game. Has that happened to you before?
Yeah.
It's happened to me plenty of times. And they just fucked it. They fucked it. I really liked it. No, it was shit. The episode was great, but the cavalry charge was terrible. So in the first scene, if you guys didn't watch...
I think they're just trying to slim shit down. So they don't have so many actors for the rest of the season.
It would just cost a lot to have
those guys can all die. Them can all die. Right, there's 4 of you left. Let's get on with this. Let's make some money.
It was terrible, like as a strategy, and I loved the episode personally, but it really unimmersed me because as I was watching it, I was like, every Warhammer player I know is going to be like that. Apart from Heinrad, obviously, and Speckles, are going to be like, that is the worst way.
They would be like, cunning move.
Cunning. I am going to take this light cavalry and charge that block. And then obviously the Night King is... The other thing you have to remember as well when you are fighting against the Night King is he sat on that one command point to re-res the whole army. So you've got
the thing is, you need to kill most of your army for him to res them. Because he can't res his army. Because his stuff actually dies when it dies.
Yeah, because it's been hit with the dragon glass. Yeah, that's a good point.
He needs most of your army to die for him to use a command point to raise it. So,
and then they just gave him. They gave him the Dothraki first. They're like, have these. There's some extra dudes. Yeah, and also I think breaking up their lines with the Dragonfire was smart. But they could have done that with the picket line in front of them.
Yeah, that moat full of fire. Because when they started coming through that, they were still only ever coming in dribs and drabs. You just light the fire, defend that line first, if you want to fight them. And then you've got your archers on the walls behind, helping you out. And fucking war machines somewhere in between.
Well, yeah, and the... I agree with you, absolutely. But like just like Age of Sigmar, it was all about the objectives. And obviously the objective was killing the Night King. Now, key part was the artifact, right? So they gave Arya the artifact, the Sword of Judgment, which in AOS, obviously, if you roll a 6 to hit, it does D6 mortal wounds. And one of the best models to put that on is an assassin, the Tenebral Shard.
Yeah.
Because he gets +1 to hit. But he also can teleport right next to you, because he's an assassin and can do you a stab. So obviously, Arya is confirmed as the Tenebral Shard, or this looks better written down, but I'm going to repeat it: the Tenebral Shaya.
Very good.
But so that was a good move, and also solid artifact choice as well. Command trait on Jon Snow was, you know nothing. That was his command trait. And then also, what was the command trait on the Night King? The command trait was also on Arya, dual wielding.
Yeah. So I think the Night King must have had the ethereal amulet because fucking Dragonfire did fuck all to him. He made all those saves.
Easy. He did make all those saves. Yeah. Well, I think on a 4-up, he just ignores fire. Like, is that an art? I don't think that's an artifact. No. So, yeah, ethereal amulet. Yeah, he can have the ethereal amulet.
Ren 2 Dragon Breath, whatever it was. Just shrugged it off.
Yeah. It didn't miss, did they? But it just didn't wound. Rolled a 1 to wound on the Dragon Breath. It was pretty cool. I really liked it. And it was dark, though.
Yeah. We should have had torches so we could see what was going on.
You could see in the realm of... Well, I imagine that's what it's like fighting in the realm of Ulglu. Yeah. And then, obviously, the giant dying was fun. So I saw a Gargant die, which I was chuffed with. Were you okay about that? You got a little teary at the Gargant dying.
Well, it was a bone grinder, so... not a bone grinder. What are they called? A bone... What's the Tomb King giants called?
Oh, no, they never actually built one, did they? What was it called? The Colossus, the Necrofex Colossus.
No, they did have one. I fought against it.
Oh yes, I know the one you mean. Yeah. And also, how excited were you about Lyanna Mormont?
Oh, the young lady Mormon.
The young lady Mormon.
Yeah, she was pretty boss, wasn't she?
She was pretty boss. She was the future. So yeah, the bone giant. But whatever the situation, it was just really tough to watch from a tactics point of view. But then I actually thought about this. If you think about the Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow's a terrible general.
Yeah.
His plan in that was just charge forward and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So what? Like maybe they're all just as good as Speckles.
Just sack him and get. I think Sansa won the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, she did. She did. I worry about them fighting an actual general. And to be fair, they were talking about it. Jaime also lost a battle as well.
Yeah, Whispering Wood.
Yeah, Whispering Wood. They're all actually really bad generals.
So all the shittos.
All the shittos.
But hopefully Bronn will come up and help them out.
Yeah. Wait, are your cavalry at the front? This is shit.
Like when he turned up at that river and what sort of a fucking siege is this?
That was the other thing as well. As much as I agree with having the picket line and having your shield guys behind the picket line, why all of those guys weren't just on the wall, manning the wall? Like, it's not like they didn't know that was a viable tactic. They'd had one north for 10,000 years. All they needed to do was repeat that. Just terrible.
Just so many better ways to fight that.
So many better ways to fight that, truth be told. Although I would be very excited to play the battle plan, the defense of Winterfell. That would be quite cool. So if anyone wants to draw that up for us, +1 CP. And all you've got to do is kill the enemy general. That's it. You can give up your whole army. You just have to kill your one enemy general.
And all he's got to do is kill your
cripple.
kill your cripple. That's the battle plan. Stab the cripple.
That's what we're going to call it. Battle plan, stab the cripple. Does he even... Oh, no, he does get his sword. He's going to go and kill him, innit? But he doesn't do it in the end.
What's that? Oh, the Night King.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just, yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I hope you guys had a great time talking about that. I hope you enjoyed Game of Thrones as well. I really enjoyed it. Nathan, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to everyone in the Twitch chat. You guys have made tonight lovely, as always. I really appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. Thank you to everyone listening to the podcast. Don't forget to stay hydrated, drink your water, get your sleep, rest, enjoy your life, just be happy. And if you're not happy, like message someone and then make a friend. Me and Nathan are always available for friends. Just have a great day. Thank you to everyone on Twitch and Patreon. You guys are great. That's it.
Okay.
That's all we've got. Don't forget to...
No protein bar propaganda.
Yeah. Don't forget to organise yourselves your Bobo watching party for the Honest Wargamer coverage. So that's going to be really exciting. So if you are going to watch it, drop us a Facebook message or a tweet or something. Let us know where you're going to be watching from. If you want to organise, if like you got a big club and you guys are going to sit out over the weekend, and drop us a message and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. I want it to be like a thing. I want like tons of people to just be like, I'm going to go to the pub with my mates and get it on at the local pub or whatever. We're going to try and make it the best coverage we've ever done, which probably means it's the best coverage done. And so let us know where you're going to be watching it from, because I want to make it real solid. So cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. All right. So from me, Nathan.
Ta-ra.
I said from me. You didn't. It's making it. I thought you were going to say from me, Rob, or something.
Oh, from me and Rob. Rob and you. Rob and me.
Thanks for listening. You guys are great. Have a great day.